Okay, balance. I don't care about balance, and it's fine because I'm bronze. Consult with OWL pros before any of my ideas are considered. Um, for this chapter here, like, you do not have to watch this. This is just like my crazy ideas. Some of them I'm a little more adamant about than others. Um, but in general, the balance is fine for me. Like, I'll kind of, I got a real cool mechanic for how to balance the game. But let's see here. Aside from that balance mechanic, like all the other ones are just kind of like flavors, like how to flavor the game, how I think should kind of be run. So take these ones with a grain of salt. Everything I said previous to this was is much more important to me than the balance, but it's still fun to talk about. So okay, the philosophy of balance: 10 DPS versus 10 healers. Tank increase HP means rounds now matter. Infinite rounds are correct only when all heroes have the same hit pool. 10v10 DPS and 10 healers. Don't matter what you pick, always end up in a draw. So I reached an epiphany when I realized, how do you balance healers and DPS? Well, let's take scenario where we're going turn-based combat, and we have 10 healers versus 10 DPS, and the DPS does 1 point of damage and has 100 hit points, and the healer can heal 1 point of damage and they also have 100 hit points. So you can see how these two classes are balanced, right? Well, it come to find out, it doesn't matter what composition you have. It always ends in a draw. Now, with tanks and increased HP, it throws a wrench into the gearworks. But what this shows is that there is no difference between a healer and a DPS. They are essentially the same character. Now, if the rounds are shortened, then obviously the attacking team, it matters if you're trying to attack or defend. But with the original scenario, a DPS deals 1 point of damage and has 100 hit points. You run the scenario over and over again, and you see no one wins. This is kind of the philosophy. Maybe people knew that DPS and healers were the same all along, but I thought it was kind of interesting. So 10v10 also has to deal with attack and defense. That is, 6 healers needed only to survive on Ubani, right? If you're trying to defend Ubani Point A, you would only pick healers, right? There's no reason not to. You're not trying to kill, you're trying to survive. So as the scenario gets more complex, then you throw tanks into it, attack defense, and it kind of starts changing. But the 10 DPS versus 10 healers is the nexus. It's the beginning of how do you balance, Dungeons and Dragons combat? How do you balance Overwatch combat? Talk about the timeline of No Limits Roll Q222 Jeff Goodman. They knew they were going to remove No Limits from the get go in preparation of OWL. They also knew 222 was on the horizon, so they just kind of let Goats alone. I hear so many misconceptions, or what I think are misconceptions about balance and what happened. Now, I recently read an article about what Jeff Kaplan said about six monkeys descending on point and not having time to react. And this comes down to uh, the removal, in response to that problem. Removing no hero limits is the wrong solution, in my humble opinion. Just like having offsides in soccer is the wrong solution, because the referee may call it incorrectly, which is you have to avoid that above everything else. You got to find another way to solve it. That's my approach. So talk about, and it's hard to. I need to sit down with a soccer player. It's hard to argue with the entirety of the soccer community, but I don't see it their way. And no one's really explained it to me in depth and allowed me that they just scream at me. So I, my quest for knowledge continues. Talk about talk. I'm not going to take it at face value, not yet. But I really want to be able to explain it to myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't yet. Talk about the timeline of no limits. So they're saying that. So in the end, I think it's an excuse, right? I, generally, I think Jeff Kaplan was truthful in all that he wrote, but I think some of it was a little bit of a cover up because my belief is that they knew they were going to get rid of no hero limits as soon as they talked about Overwatch League. Because I think I said this before. God forbid two McCrees show up on the same team on prime time Overwatch League. It just makes too much sense. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's not how I see it. And I'll tell you how to fix the Winstons. So I think the example he gave was 6 Winstons are descending on the point in order, and the enemy team gets stomped, and they don't have time to, retaliate in proper fashion. So my idea is let me see enemy picks, right? There's no reason to hide those before spawn. It's, there's no inherent reason to do that, but they're not going to do that, right? So, oh yeah, let's just put in hero limits, which, like I said, it makes too much sense that they got rid of hero limits for the sole purpose of Overwatch League. And there were plenty of people who complained about getting rid of no limits. Jeff said it himself that, it was a contentious issue. So to think that, maybe 80% of the player base was in favor of removing no limits, but I'm not in favor of it. So then we go on to roll queue, and this is working good for a while. And I'll go back to this. Jeff said that it's easier to balance hero limits than it is no limits, and I find this. It seems like a lie, like he's lying to us, because it would be easier to balance no limits. Because once you saw that there were 6 Winstons on a team, you would know to nerf them, right? If no one could beat 6 Winstons, then it'd be really easy to tell. They just didn't give it enough time. You have to let it boil over for a little bit before you make any changes to see what's going on. So that's another thing that makes me skeptical of the real reason why they got rid of no hero limits. And then so we got 222, and then goats flourished, right? And I just learned this recently is that 222 was on the horizon for a while, right? So they kind of just left goats alone. It's not it's not about poor balance. It's about that Goats was left alone because they knew 222 was coming out. So they didn't want to do anything drastic. I mean, why wouldn't they nerf all 6 of those heroes? Right? So this is me being a little. I'm not usually a cynicist or a skeptic, but this seems a little fishy to me. But anyway, right? I'm the king of Overwatch, and this is how we're doing things from here on out. All right. so All right, so this is how I would balance it if I were king of Overwatch. Okay, so we'll start from the beginning, and this only applies to OWL games. Say OWL didn't exist, then this would only apply to like the top 3% of the ladder, right? We're only recording what's happening at like the very upper echelon of the ladder. Some arbitrary cutoff point would be needed where we're recording what's happening in the games. but we have OWL, so that it would be it's good to think about it with OWL. So this applies to so we're only looking at OWL games, and the balance that's created from the OWL games would be carried over to the ladder. What about about the off season? The balance could stay the same, or they could look at the ladder a little bit. I don't really care, but let's say in the off season they just left it alone, so there'd be no balance changes for like the entirety of 5 months of the off season, whatever it is. All right, so we're looking at OWL games for the sake of this discussion. OWL will be played in the no limit format. So OWL is now no hero limits. All right. The HP pools of the heroes are adjusted after the end of each week, or even after the end of each match. Overwatch is about playing all heroes, or at least 11 to 3. I don't know what RPS means. 3 heroes equal 9. I don't know what this means exactly, but Overwatch is about playing like if you're going to main Widow, like you also have to be good at Ashe, right? Because the fluctuations would mean that sometimes Widow wouldn't be as powerful as you'd like her to be. So Overwatch with upwards of 70 heroes one day, maining maining a hero wouldn't be possible. You you would have to. I mean, it would be possible, but it it wouldn't be optimal. So, and I think so we're doing no limits, right? So, if I was a Widow main, I would also be good at Ashe and I would also be good at Anna, right? Meaning that I would be healing sometimes, and maybe I'd be good at McCree and another sniper hero, a sniper tank that they're going to introduce later, right? It's not out of the realm of possibility to ask an Overwatch player to play 4 or 5 heroes that are relatively the same. So the HP pools will be adjusted. Let's say, or at the end of each match, let's just say for the sake of clarity, at the end of each match, um, no, let's say at the end of each set. So when Los Angeles faces off against New York, they start the set of matches with a certain amount of balance. With the numbers are in place. When the set of matches is over, after 3 or 4 hours, and the winner is declared, immediately then the balance is readjusted right then and there in preparation for the next people who play. I don't know what would happen if 2 teams played at the same time, but that's kind of funny. But it'd be easy to solve anyway. So, right, so Los Angeles and New York are going to play each other, and the balance would be adjusted after the end of the set of each matches. So we're going to count it all up after the match. And every time a hero has won a match, their HP pool is decreased by 1. And every time a hero has lost a match, their HP pool is increased by 1. Right? Decreased by 1, increased by 1. If a hero wasn't chosen during the entire week, their HP pool will be increased by 1. The 6 heroes that were played the most during the entire week will have their HP pools decreased by 1. The way it works for multiple heroes played is that you can't just play 1 second and that count towards a hero being played. Actually, this is wrong. Yeah, so it is by the second. I should have deleted that, but I'll leave it in for clarity. Actually, this is wrong because Hanzo Sonic Arrow, so play 1/100th of a second. Yeah, so Hanzo uses the Sonic Arrow and then goes back in spawn and changes to a different character. That needs to be recorded, and if they win that match, it needs to count towards Hanzo participating in the match, even if he is never reselected again, because he used the Sonic Arrow. You have to get a kill. See, this kill or score 25 points of damage. No, it doesn't matter. We're only counting milliseconds or hundredths of a second, and that there would be some minimum no minimum threshold. So 1/100th of a second is how playtime is balanced. Blah blah blah. So right, you'd have to do all the math to see if for example, if I played half the match as Widow and half the match as Hanzo and we won, then Widow would have her hit point pool decreased by half a hit point and Hanzo by half a hit point. Right? You see what I'm saying there. Okay. So have a publicly viewable stock chart that shows current HP pools and wins and losses for the heroes, right? So they're understanding, the movements of the heroes and how they're being adjusted. The idea behind this is that no hero will become OP because then players will pick the OP hero and win, thus driving the hero's HP pool down. Furthermore, you can add and subtract and nerf and buff as many abilities as you want because it will always balance itself back out. So, so there you go, right? That's how you balance the game. And the great thing about it is that like you can change all the abilities, you can change how much damage they do, you can change duration of stuns and anything, and the algorithm I just described here will automatically balance it out no matter what you do. No matter what you do, if you let this run long enough, you can't expect to give Tracer, 10 blanks and expect her to be fixed overnight, right? But whether you know what once the initial phase of this is done, it will balance pretty quickly. Um, that's the good thing about this is that no matter what you do, the HP pools are the things that balance it, right? So I suggest that these HP pools be carried over into the ladder, even if it creates 6 must picks for GMs down to bronze. So I've heard, oh, they balance from the top down. Well, too bad. Too bad, right? Even if what I'm describing is balanced off the OWL, and that means that even with 70 heroes, there's 6 must picks in GMs, and the game sucks because there's a established meta, and if you play outside of it, you will definitely lose. Even if that's the consequence, I'm still fine with it. We because I'm saying that because I don't think that it will be that drastic. I think the balance will be even better. But the anyway, guys, the meta is stale because of hero limits. If you had no hero limits, it would be a lot better. Trust me. Here's a side note. When I originally came up with this idea, a hero's left click was what I was talking about buffing, but it can be muddied with Mei, right? Mei's left click. I don't think changing HP pools is the correct choice aesthetically. However, it is the most practical and straightforward function over form. And choosing HP over primary fire is pushing the line aggressively. Okay, what I'm saying here is that let's see, buffed or nerfed. Yeah, so when I first came up with this, the idea is that if Soldier wins, his left click, his gun becomes more weaker, and if he loses, his gun becomes stronger, right? And maybe you could do the gun with Soldier and the hit points with the other characters or whatever, but you see the general theme of how to balance. Balance is simple. Balance is pruning. You play for a while and you see who's winning too much, you give them a little nerf, and you see who's not really being picked or losing too much, you give them a little buff, and you just keep doing this over and over. You're never until we get quantum computers. This is the best we can hope for. So Hanzo versus Hanzo. Example: Hanzo versus Hanzo 1v1. One Hanzo will lose HP, but if the match has Hanzo versus Hanzo may half swap, he'd only lose half point. Right? So, alongside the 6 most played heroes, this is, someone brought this up to me. I forget who, but I thank them very much. And the system I described didn't get rid of goats, right? Because if you have goats and one diva's losing and one diva's winning, so there's no change, and one Lucio's winning and one Lucio's losing, and there's no change, so it's stuck. So the way to get out of that is the most played hero gets 1 point taken off, meaning that Diva won a match and she lost a match and she was the most picked hero, therefore she loses 1 HP. And the meta will evolve and it will have a nice slow and steady clip. And yeah, I think that's the close. I think what I described is the closest you can get to perfect balance. Even though it's in a constant state of flux, it's the best you can hope for, unless you somehow luckily guess the correct numbers. Uh, you know, I uh, I can't think of a better way to balance. See, that's the problem with Jeff Goodman, right? He's under constraints of his superiors. Like, no, you have to have 200 hit points. He probably had to beg and plead to get McCree 225 hit points and Sim 225 hit points. They really want everyone at 200 hit points. Took them a while to bring Widow down to 175. You know, you can tell that it's the correct decision, but there's constraints. They can't, like my system, Soldier would have 202 hit points, and McCree would have 198 hit points, 198.2 hit points, or whatever. They're not letting Jeff Goodman do this. So he's not allowed to. So my idea of perfect balance, like I said, they have to think about Overwatch League when they do this kind of things, and they have to think about marketability. So that's why this balance, it doesn't address Overwatch League. It doesn't address marketability. It just addresses balance. Because anytime you take your eyes off balance, you're sacrificing balance, right? Balance in the Overwatch League off season. So like I said, I'd be fine if it stood still, right? Oh, it would be perfectly balanced, but say it wasn't, like you would just have to wait. You're not going to break Overwatch more than Overwatch League breaks Overwatch. So I just if Overwatch League didn't exist, the very top games would determine the balance, meaning that after the highest rung person finished their match, HP pools are adjusted right then and there after the match. This means the current match would be running on old balance, and the game started after the highest one would be running on the new balance. I think this would be easy to code, but maybe long load times cause you to have to load the new balance patch. Not a problem, I wouldn't think. Yeah, so say there wasn't an Overwatch League, the balance, you could do it where it's just the top game, the very best game that has just finished. That's the one that creates the new balance patch for everyone down the ladder. Meaning that you could have a threshold where only top, yeah, let's say you could make it like only the top 500 adjust balance, right? And yeah, there would be some manipulation, but only for themselves. It wouldn't matter to plats and below, right? There would be some bad actors trying to change it. That's why it's important to have money involved in PvP, because we're assuming that all OWL players are playing to win and they're not playing to manipulate the balance. Like, you're not going to have Shanghai throwing games to make sure that the Widow is a viable pick for the next team coming up. We talk a little bit about NASCAR. In NASCAR, I guess one owner has multiple cars, so why wouldn't he have one of his cars crash into his opposition to make sure that his other car can win? Right, this kind of I don't think this is very much of a problem. The system I'm describing is open to manipulation, but since we are assuming that everybody in OWL are good actors and they're trying to win, even if they weren't, I don't think it would be that big of a problem. It is open for exploitation, but I don't think it's practically. I don't think exploitation is a practical problem. Okay, where was I? Kind of forget. So the balance without Overwatch League. Let's see here. The measure here would go by completion. Once a game is completed, it checks that. I can't think of it right now. Maybe the match would have to contain at least one player from the top 10% to be continued. Rank 1 would be in the match, but there is decay things, so I think number 1 would show up every 6 hours. I don't know, but I think that's it. Maybe self-healing. Bad editing. All heroes self-heal at different rates. Maybe self-healing for balance. That'd be kind of interesting, right? Like, so instead of changing, like, we have self healing that is always on. It doesn't activate if you haven't been hit for 2 seconds. Like Mercy, like it just always stays on. Maybe that would be a good way to balance. So you can kind of like keep hero pools the same, but change regeneration. Like that is so not Overwatch, but we're talking about balance, right? So but I like the hit point pools, the idea better. The way the balance plays out is Genji has, 164.23 hit points, and Diva has 554.22 hit points, right? This would be the results of what I'm trying to balance. It will be perfectly balanced. Will the hit point pools be nice and even? Oh, no, 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 no. All right, make a grid chart for Pokemon MS Paint. Right, so like Heroes of the Storm, they have like attribute wheels, like attribute scales, right? And then also for the Pokemon grid chart, I think I talked about it a little bit later. Um, yeah, so I want a grid. I want an officially Blizzard stamped grid that shows that overall Rhine is weak to Diva and Diva is strong to Genji, on and on. And, Deflect is strong against not Bastion. Deflect is strong against Hanzo's arrow, right? You know that let's see, make hero wheel charts MS Paint. I looked at Heroes of the Storm webpage and they have this like damage, utility, survivability, gradings, and ratings. I don't like the difficulty complexity bar. It's kind of lame, but whatever. Static balance Widow one. Yeah, so I don't like the 3-star thing, like Widow's 3-star difficulty, and I mean it's okay. Hopefully they'll change that like Overwatch 2. Like it's a good idea if you're when Overwatch 2 is brand new, but yeah. So the Pokemon, like I have this whole thing about where Torbjorn is powerful against Mei, at least his ult, right? So yeah, like there should be officially stamped Blizzard Pokemon chart. And one of the things about balance is that Widow one shots humanoids and weaker. So like Soldier, and McCree will always be able to be one shot by Widow in the head. Now whatever you have to change to make that happen, that's fine. So we're going to do balance my way and we're going to adjust hit points. But let's say that all of a sudden Soldier has been losing so much that his hit points have gone so far high that Widow can no longer one shot him in the head. What that means is that Widow's uh, damage goes up just enough to get that one shot, on an unbuffed soldier, right? Unbuffed, unprotected soldier, un unbuffed Widow, right? No Discord on Widow. There's no. Is it? Yeah, the Sombra thing was supposed to be a damage nerf. The Sombra hack originally, right? Not counting that, just a natural one shot Widow will always kill, um, humanoid characters. We'll get into this more later. I don't like the fall off damage on Widow. Like, I understand how it's very, very, very far away, so it's really a non-issue. But yes, that's the last thing about balance here, is that Widow must always do a one headshot. I started about thing about pure balance, but then it was fun to actually change what the heroes did. So I got a lot of changes, but in the end, I don't care. Like everything I'm about to talk about, like I couldn't really care less. I have a blast playing Overwatch. I'm in bronze and silver. Balance is fine, but it's fun to theorycraft and it's fun to think about. So I guess I'd add it here at the end of this presentation. All right, so hack garrote. So a garrote, I guess it's where you take a wire and you sneak up behind someone and you strangle them to death, I guess. And this is what I envision Sombra's hack to be like. Yes, she is a electronic hacker and stuff, and we'll get more into this later. But think about Sombra's hack like a garrote, right? This would be the move that she does. Like she garrotes you, and then she like turns off your visor, right? Because she's kind of to say she's like an acrobat, she's like a rogue. Some there's no locks to pick in Overwatch like Dungeons and Dragons, but she's the rogue. She can turn invisible. Tracer's kind of the acrobat from the animated Dungeons and Dragons series, right? It's kind of in the vein of the rogue, the thief. So the hack, I want you to envision as like agarrote, right? Okay, so and Bash is the same. Minor ability with short cooldowns. Like Bash should Bash should be on a very short cooldown. It should be do very limited amount of damage, and it should stun you for a very short period of time. I'm talking about like a 2 second cooldown, a third of a second of stun, and like 5 points of damage. Okay, well, I get more into the heroes down here. These were like a lot of random changes. Look out of the beholder. Like here's all the individuals. I should have said that at the beginning, but I get into all the individual changes later. But these are the ones like I just jotted down, and to kind of convey my philosophy on Overwatch balance, even though I don't really care, right? So complexity, simplicity, one ability, or a million. It doesn't matter, Frito. Frito, if you are listening to this, I know you're better at Overwatch than I am. But whether something is simple or complex does not indicate whether it can be balanced or not. It may indicate that it's more difficult to balance, which maybe you have said, Frito, if you're listening to this, I don't like a lot about what you say about Overwatch. Now, you know more than me, and if we had a one on one discussion, maybe I'd see things your way. But from watching your videos, I just generally don't agree with a lot what you have to say. You and SVB, sorry to call you guys out, but I don't like hero pools, and winning heroes are evidently OP, but only when there is money on the line, right? You kind of need to make sure people are trying to win. So I think I was watching a Frito video, a Your Overwatch video, and he tried to make it seem like balance was this thing that was unobtainable and no one's going on and blah 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 this and on when it is very very simple. If a hero is winning too much, they are overpowered, and that's that. So I don't understand. I don't understand the counter argument to this. I'll leave it at that. If a hero's winning too much, you give him a little nerf. Perfect balance is unobtainable, and this is the best we can hope for. The I All right. So I think you should gain ult charge from damaging shields. Ryan and his shield are the same thing. I don't see a difference between Reinhardt and his shield. Can Reinhardt not have his shield? Can the shield not have Reinhardt? All right. I mean, yeah, I get the mechanic. I understand the thought behind it, but I disagree. We may not want to encourage people to attack tanks, but we certainly don't want to discourage them. That's horrible. So I don't know much about balance, but it would seem to me that if I don't get all charge from damaging a shield, I'm less likely to attack it. We want to draw fire towards the tanks. Maybe you get double all charge for shooting the shield. That's the idea of the tank, right? That's what I never understood about World of Warcraft is that like in PvE, we get threat, right? So the computer is attacking me for some reason, or I'm making fun of his mom, right? And this is how the monster decides to attack me, right? Is this threat? This so this is how you do threat in PvP. I get bonuses for attacking the shield, right? It seems kind of counterintuitive, but yeah, I don't see why. Then don't hold up your shield or change it. That's my thing about offsides in soccer. Change it some other way. You have chosen the worst way to solve the problem. That well then everyone attacks the shit. Well then increase the HP of it. I don't know. I don't like how Soldier, Tracer, Mercy, Mini Diva all have different HPs. They're all human, and a bullet to the head should always act the same way, but maybe not body shots unsolved. Like the Constitution score in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I understand humans have different hit points, and you know, think about Soldier and McCree. Like, why do they have different hit points? Is it Constitution score? It seems like Soldier would be the one wearing the body armor. You can justify, after some thought, I guess you can justify Soldier having 200 hit points and McCree having 225. But in the ideal world, all humans would have the same amount of hit points. Um, like I can understand, like Doom would have more hit points than Tracer. But talking about my hit points, it's a different subject, right? When they do it, they're let's say they're trying to keep the hit points the same, right? Because if they could, Soldier might have 190 hit points or 210, right? They're actively trying to keep the hit points manageable. Where in my system, we're just throwing hit points out the window, and it doesn't matter if you know uh, Soldier has 199 and McCree has 200, right? It doesn't make sense logically, but we're only talking about balance. And that reminds me that um, when adjusting hit points for my balance that I describe, like if Soldier gets like 300, 325, 350 hit points, then it's time to dial back his left click. Right. I hope that was obvious that no one really actually thought of that hole in my logic there, but right. So if you're doing it my way, if you're doing balance my way, and all of a sudden like Reinhardt has like 300 hit points, you're like, oh, we gotta buff his hammer, right? So you buff the hammer until we want Ryan to have 500 hit points, and we want Soldier to have 200 hit points. So if it gets too far out of whack, then you just start adjusting the abilities, only the numbers, right? The mechanics and the actual abilities, like what they do, is purely artistic, purely aesthetic, right? So you just buff the numbers. You don't give them like extra abilities or anything like that. Like sometimes, but not. The balance I'm describing is already like perfectly balanced, so to speak. It's already there. You know what I'm saying? So any um, the problems would only arise at the very beginning, and once you sorted them all out, it would pretty much be in a state of constant flow. So there wouldn't be anything too wild or too crazy. So, alright. So if Soldier self hits himself, then he hits his teammates with rocket and CC as well. With rockets as well. CC with Soldier rocket, but not damage. Yeah. So like, I want Soldier to CC his teammates with the right click, but I kind of don't want Fair to do it. I know it's kind of inconsistent, but it's up for debate. It's just something fun to think about. I personally, I would remove it once and for all for everyone. Like even Ash's coach gun, it does not knock her back. It only knocks her opponents back. Same with Pharaoh Concussive Blast, Zarya right click, right? It does not move you whatsoever. I'd even be willing to give up Junk's landmine jump. He's not allowed to do that anymore. You can't CC yourself. Even though I want Junk CC in there for himself, it's kind of a difficult topic. I guess I'd have to think about it a little bit more. But anyway, allow teammates to see precast Maywalls and sim TPs show on the minimap too. Right, so it's really important with Maywalls. She's thinking about where to put that. You should be she can see where she's about to put it, and so should you. Right, that'd be pretty sweet. But interaction must be considered across the board. Genji deflect on Sigrock, Rock too heavy, etc. Rock too heavy, grav light enough kind of does make sense. It's tough to solve how to show on Pokemon charts, right? So, like, how would you explain quantifiably why Genji can deflect bullets but not Sigma's rock? Are we cutting it off at a certain amount of weight? It's not inertia, right? It makes sense. Genji can't deflect a rock. It's a giant rock 3 times the size and it's landing on his head. He can't deflect that with a sword. In movies, we deflect bullets with ninja swords. We don't deflect, 1-ton rocks coming at us. So that kind of makes sense. But to reiterate, we want interactions to be consistent. And I think they are, for the most part. They've done a pretty good job. So the proper tank DPS healer ratio is 40 man raid, right? What is it in the 40 man World of Warcraft raid? Is it 2 tanks, 7 healers, and 31 DPS? Or is it 3 tanks, 7 healers, 30? I don't know exactly. I rated against Garrosh Hellscream, right? I forget what the proper 40 man raid is, but this should be the ratio of Overwatch. If it's 9v9 or if it's 15 versus 15, right? And I want no limits, but 222 is not the proper distribution. The proper distribution, if you have 2 tanks, then you would have to have at least 3 healers, maybe 5, maybe 4, and then maybe like 7 DPS, right? If you're going to have 2 tanks, the proper distribution. I mean, not necessarily, but I don't like, the 5-man raid. That's where the distribution. 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 healers. I hate 5v5, but the tank distribution seems kind of artificial when it's 222. But I solve it with no limits, so. What if friendly fire was only 50%? That'd be cool. So CC works on friends and 50% friendly fire. For now, we'll just go no friendly fire, like no CCs on friends. I'm just kind of, brainstorming here, just writing this stuff down. But CC abilities don't discriminate between friend and foe. Fun. Meaning Brig can bash allies, but no damage. It'd be kind of weird. Remove all ammo and reloads. I said that. I want to try Overwatch. Soldier, McCree, Pharah, Widow, Bastion, infinite ammo and no reloads. I want to see how that works. So, and see what the pros think. I bet you the pros will like it. So, maybe not the audience though. Alright, so 900 throw picks out of 1,000 total heroes doesn't mean it's not balanced. Must pick heroes are sign of improper balance. Throw pick heroes are fine. Minimum heroes 74 for a 6v6 game. So we got 6v6, and we got no limits, and we have 74 heroes. As long as maybe 50 of those heroes are, viable picks, it's balanced. What I'm saying about the 900 and 1,000 heroes is if one hero is trash, it doesn't necessarily mean the game is unbalanced, right? Because currently, Overwatch does not have 32 heroes. Technically, Overwatch has 132 heroes, and 100 of those heroes are absolute garbage. So, what I'm saying here is that that shows that it doesn't matter how many bad characters there are. It only the avoiding must picks. If there's one must pick, the game is in balance, and then you give them a little nerf, and then the game's balanced. I don't understand. Well, I don't understand why people don't. Is there something I'm missing? Like, you tell me. So you should always respawn with abilities off cooldown, like Mercy Res and Ball Hook. The correct solution is to have instant respawns and move the spawn back, right? Or maybe no instant respawns, right? I was always disappointed that Mercy would res with her. I'm sorry, Mercy would respawn with her current res on the same cooldown she died with. Kind of seemed a little. I don't know. I didn't like it. You know, the obvious answer is to move the respawn back so that. But whatever. Global alt ticker, no swap penalty if I'm going to mirror your picks. Current alt generation mechanic discourages this when it should actually reward it, if anything. So, say I'm going to be like, okay, this guy in number 3 slot, I'm going to pick whatever he picks. And I'm going to go toe to toe with this guy. Well, currently you're punished for that because every time you swap, I guess every time he swaps, he's losing the alt charge too. But if you're always the one to swap second, you're losing a little bit more alt charge, at least for the initial swap. But, you know, a lot of people said this. In a game where swapping is encouraged, it's actually punished at the same time. I hope to God they don't do hero pools or hero draft. It's such. I get it. I get it in OWL. It adds a layer of complexity. I understand. See, in my system, it's perfectly balanced as it can be. So there's no need for the community to help the balance team out, right? I understand currently with the sometimes when the balance gets a little out of hand, it'd be really nice to have a hero draft and be able to, you know, not allow the not allow the opponents to pick certain heroes. But with my perfect balance, right, it's not necessary. And also, finding out what the opponent's good at and not allowing them to pick that, that's not good. That's not what Overwatch is in my eyes. And I wonder what League of Legends does on hero bans in professional competition, right? Okay, so old generation discourages this. Ultimate exchange rate. I think ultimate preservation is the correct idea. Start match with full alt charge, duh. Respawn with full alt charge, maybe not. I don't know about that respawn. But if I had it my way, you would start with full alt charge, right? I guess that's not ideal for the audience, but it's like breaking down barriers, right? It's a chore, right? You're going in to build up your alt. It's a chore. We don't want this in PvP generally. Maybe you start with zero alt charge. You know, like I said, these are some of these ideas aren't like set in stone in my mind. So, but it's worth mentioning. Okay, like I said, I never understood Falloff Damage. Whether it's a bullet for 20 yards, go do the same damage as follows the impossibility. Right, so I'd have to talk to some old school gamers. You know, I guess Falloff Damage has been around for a while. I don't really play a lot of FPS, so I'd like to talk to someone about it. I'd like to get rid of it, but it may be necessary. I don't really know. Hit scan can hit projectiles, may left click, fair rockets, etc. Like, I don't know if it's about money or if it's just programming in something to just program it in. But yeah, Pharaoh's rockets should be able to collide. Pharaoh's rockets should have 30 hit points of damage, so I can try to shoot them down with Soldier. You know what happens if a May icicle hits a Pharaoh rocket? You know, project I glass. You know, and we gotta consider velocity too. So maybe it's very difficult to destroy Zen's glass balls, and stuff like this. But we'll see. Fire has 10, 20, 25% damage versus ice, like in Pokemon. I was trying to think of more interactions that have, these types of buffs and nerfs, but so far it only seems like Torbjorn's alt versus May in general kind of have that fire ice duality. Hopefully there's more down the line, and there should be, but yeah, if Torb ults onto May Ice Wall, like it should melt at a faster rate, and I want her wall to be made out of individual ice cubes. I got a real cool idea for May. I like. Um, Maybe in 30 years we'll have enough computer power to do it, but we'll get into that later. Personally, I don't want friendly fire in game, but it would be seem logical to put in game. No ammo crates though. I wonder how OWL players would feel about friendly fire. Does Invisible Sombra stall the payload? You tell me. I don't know. Should she? Sombra is only 5% invisible while on point. Mimic. Like, think about this. Sombra's invisible, but she's trying to start the car on the payload. Like, you would see the key turning. You would hear the car on. So, like, you'd kind of see her more or less. You would know that. Like, you know who Sombra is, right? You're like, oh no, there's someone invisible trying to start the car, right? So Invisible Sombra has to touch the car for the payload. She has a smaller checkpoint and can be seen 5%. I don't know. Just talk. Like, I never. God forbid they put the. They put the rules inside of it. I always forget what, like, May does on the payload, May does on the checkpoint, what Reaper does on the, when he's Wraith, and Sombra Invisible. I always forget, but figure I bring it up. Sig and Reaper are ghost types. So Sig's like psychic, and Reaper Wraith, they're like a ghost. Here's more fire and ice, right? Like ghost form, it's a Pokemon type. But this stuff exists in Dungeons and Dragons too. I never really like learned all the interactions of the, water versus fire and all this type of stuff. But it should be in Overwatch. It'd be a good place to use it. So this is why I'm a little skeptical of removing no limits and the whole debacle there in my eye. So six Farah is the natural counter to goats. It's going to take a long time to rebalance from no hero limits to 222, changing the goalpost. So I never blame Jeff Goodman because they always change the rules on him, right? He was doing his best. He seems like a smart guy, and I don't think it's that hard to balance any particular game. The problem that Jeff Goodman was undergoing, was that they kept changing the rule set on him. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to, put out all these fires because they keep changing the rule set 222 and no hero limits and then no limit, so that's why goats was allowed to thrive, because the natural counter for goats is like one widow, maybe a mercy, and like four pharaohs, right? Or maybe like three pharaohs and a drunk, or you kite goats, because I remember checking to see if goats was the type of composition that only was really strong at close range, and it was. What they have for long range, like Lucio, and I guess Zarya had a right click, but in general, they were very weak at long range. Perfect. That's how you balance a game. So we need to kite these people. So the natural, and we can't run what would have been the optimal kite. If you're running hero limits, how do you kite? You got Widow at that time. We got Pharah. We got Junk. Throw a Mercy in there. What are two more long range characters? Can't have May because a little bit of her balance was optimized towards short range. Um, Anna no because Anna's healing. Maybe Zen. All right, so we got Mercy Zen, Widow Junk Farah. There had to have been one other long range hero. Hmm. Maybe I'll look that up later, but we'll go with it for now. And six Pharaohs, right? They have to meet them at spawn. Think of them attacking. Think of goats attacking on Nubani. The Pharaohs have to meet them at spawn so that they can whittle them down by the time they get to point, right? So, because you're never going to have that six player is never going to be Rhine on point. He would die far too quickly. So you can't have anyone on point with six pharaohs, right? You have to kite them long enough, and maybe the answer is to make that run back, that run to point a little bit longer, so the six pharaohs would have time to counter goats, right? So I I'll have to check for myself to see if there was one more long range hero, and if that one more long range hero couldn't do it, then the answer was to buff those people. But they had 222 on the horizon, so they never bothered fixing goats. I just learned this recently that the that 222 was probably long in the works, and then I speculated that's why goats was never fixed properly. So okay, some of these ideas are really stupid and really far out there, but I'd figure I'd write them down anyway. But I'd like for Overwatch one day to be like Voltron or Power Rangers, but this is a long way off. Let humanoids mount Orisa. Diva and her four mech buddies should be able to form a giant hero. One controls movement, one controls fire, one controls healing. Like Voltron. Like I said, these are real far out there, but I figured I'd write them down. But as a beginning, let Brigitte mount Orisa, right? That would be pretty sweet. Okay, and what you can do with it, um, yeah, Orisa can shoot, and Brig can swing her hammer. Maybe Orisa slow down just a little bit. But yeah, address Samito. Genji Blade can be Mercy damage boost. I think here I'm talking about Samito was Gen. He complained that they had to balance a certain way because Mercy can damage boost Genji Blade, and he kind of wanted Mercy not to be able to damage boost Genji Blade. Like, no, 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 I disagree. Mercy should even be able to damage boost Hanzo's dragons because if it's such an obvious band-aid. Like, if Mercy cannot damage boost Hanzo's dragons, you have done something wrong. You need to adjust numbers in other places until you get it right. I understand not letting Mercy boost Hanzo's dragons in the interim, short term until you can get it right. Now my balance it solves it anyway, right? So, but with the idea of eventually letting Mercy damage boost dragons once again, because you can't do that in Overwatch. You can't give Mercy a damage boost and not allow and make her remember what it can and what it can't damage boost. That that's adding a skill to the game that doesn't belong there in the first place. It's different than remembering. I remember a Bastion main told me one time he remembered that if he's getting if he plays Bastion and he self heals and he's also getting healed by a Mercy, he can stand on the edge of dragons, whether boosted or not. Right? He had the fortitude to survive being, barely touched by dragons. This is something important to remember. But to remember what can be damage boost and what can't is not a good thing to remember, especially for the lower ranks. Is if you want to create openness and inclusivity about Overwatch, you do not want new coming players to be damage boosting dragons when you don't even have the proper documentation of what is damage boosted and what is not. It's so I'm kind of disgusted. There's few things in this game that and I understand it's a business, right? So obviously what they're doing is fine. Like it's not a big problem, but like I say, I'm disgusted and I don't know what else to say here. But Zen, 6 Zen Discord. So the idea with Zen's Discord, it's like I said with Reinhardt and his shield. Rein and his shield are the same thing. Damage boost to Mercy is the same as Discord to Zen. So if we can have a damage boosted Widow versus a discorded Widow target, then why can't we have two beams on Mercy or two orbs on Widow's target? Right? It's so it, it's so blind, right? I don't see why people would argue against no limits, right? You see how damage boost and discord are the exact same ability, right? So if I can have a damage boost on Widow and a discord on her target, well, why can't I have two damage boosts on Widow? If you make tanks self heal like Mercy, it would make enemies attack. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I guess you're attacking tanks because they're objects of healing anyway. But I don't know. That's kind of weird. But anyway, armor can only stack 50. Ryan can don 500 armor, but 50 armor HP is more like Greaves or like Shin Guards, not an entire stew. You can't stack 200 armor. So I have an idea with Brig and her armor packs, and even reintroducing Torb's armor packs. But a mechanic of aftermarket armor, you could say, is like you can only have 50 of it, right? Or maybe I don't know if you want to do 25% of total health pool, whereas like Diva could don like a lot of extra armor. Maybe that's possible, but one of the one of the ideas of the nerf to Brig is that like you would load up Tracer with armor and then she'd go run in. Well, all you'd have to do is make a blanket limit on armor where you can only put on 50 armor. I can't keep piling armor on you, right? So, but there, you could have a hero in the future where he's 600 armor and zero health, right? Because he's suited up, like he is the armor. Whereas an armor pack, it's just like like an extra thing on your helmet or something like this. Okay. Mermaid. We don't have a mermaid hero. Waiting for the mermaid hero. Sextuple shield is fine, and sextuple discord. Rolls are a spectrum, and some heroes lie on the ends. That's the bad thing about 222 is there's no such thing as rolls. Yes, Reinhardt is a tank, and yes, Soldier is a DPS. What is Zen? He's half DPS and half healer, maybe even 75% DPS, 25%. That is where you're backing yourself into the corner, you're shooting yourself in the foot. This is what happens when you try to make money instead of giving out video games for free. Okay? So, not, you know what I mean. Not doing talent trees in PvP was the correct. Yeah, so I heard they started out where you could do like a build, like in Paladins, I think, where, oh, I want Reaper to have more of this and less of this, but it's good that it's very few times in here I will like give kudos and praise to the decisions made by the dev team. I wish I could talk to these guys. But anyway, yes, this is the correct decision. Each hero is unique. You can't change him. It's really, really good how they did not do talent trees in Overwatch. Now we want talent trees in Overwatch 2 and PvE, obviously. Talent trees for PvE. No talent trees for PvP. 5-second respawns with alt ticker penalty. I don't know about the alt. I think we solved alts before, and we talked about respawns. So that's I don't know, just throwing that out there. Ability stacking. Technically, Mercy damage boost should stack, but I see no problem with damage boost base additions if two Zen Discorbs are applied. Right. So like the the problem that I just talked about with the Widow and the Zen and how Discord and damage boosts are the same, like we'll take the example of Mercy Beams. I guess the correct way to do this is say Mercy gives a 10% damage boost. If I apply two damage beams, you may think that the second damage beam applied recalculates the additional boosted damage, but I guess it's fine to just go off the base damage. So whereas 6 Mercies who damage boost a Widow, she is now shooting at 160%, not 110% plus 10%, which would be 121%, plus another 10%, which, you know what I'm saying? You're not accumulative. It just, the damage is only off the base. Whereas if you think about it on Discord, right, it's just adding, I guess it's just adding a 20% nerf to the HP, right? So I think that's pretty obvious. Instant respawns are more fun. Instant respawns nullify the kill cam. So I think Overwatch should be instant respawns. Obviously you'd have to change every single map, right? So it's not going to happen. But ideally, Overwatch would be instant respawns. Maybe like 3-second respawn, because it'd kind of be weird to die and immediate. Even though your run back is there's no enemies, I don't know. There just wouldn't feel something right. A 3-second respawn would be the same, almost the same as 0-second respawn, except it would like feel better. I get so 3-second respawns. All right. Stuns do not cancel stuff, only take away time. Think Hog alt. Brig Bash doesn't undo Hog's alt, it just interrupts it. And then maybe it even resumes until ammo is gone, like Reaper 2. CC does not infect the ethereal. So it seems really cheap that Reaper's entire ultimate is canceled from a Brig Bash. And it makes sense if you think that for some reason Reaper needs to save up strength to spin around in a cartwheel. I go into this more, but get ready, guys. I don't think every hero needs to have an ultimate. We could take an ultimate away from Pharah, or maybe give her heat-seeking rockets as a better ultimate. But Pharah is the type of character who does not need an ultimate. She just fires rockets. She can fly around. I want unlimited flying for Pharah, right? Pharah is just a character who flies as much as she wants and shoots as much as she wants. No ultimate needed. She could just be really powerful otherwise. So now we're going back to the Reaper thing. So Reaper's ult. Why does he have to save up his energy to spin around in a cartwheel? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And to be bashed, maybe if he enters the ethereal mode during ultimate, like it's uncancelable. The but let's. So I haven't thought everything all the way through, but let's go with Hog's ult. Hog is going to ult, and Brig has interrupted him. Well, he still has the amount of ultimate ammo left, so he should be able to finish his ult, right? There's no really reason why he can't keep spinning the thing, So I can see where it would stop Reaper from doing the cartwheel, but Hog still has his ammo left. Now, think about it with Soldier, right? That tactical visor is only available for 2 seconds. So if Brig stuns Soldier for a half a second, then the ultimate only lasts for 1.5 seconds total. It would make, and you could even do that with Hog, and with Reaper. It's the one who wouldn't make that much sense because if he starts the cartwheel, I don't know, I keep calling it a cartwheel. What do you call it? A pirouette, right? If he, if he, if you stop him from the pirouette, he can't like really restart that. Whereas Soldier, it seems to make more sense. But we'll get into Briggs Bash a little bit more, where is it shouldn't cancel so much, more postpone what's going on because a shield bash is supposed to be a very weak ability. Now I understand it interrupts a mage casting a spell, but Soldier is not. I mean, he's a ranger, so he's got some magic. Reaper's ethereal. He should be able to avoid like physical attacks to some degree. All right, so I get into Brig a little bit more in the individual hero section, but I think that's the general overview. I don't like definitely with Hog. Hog has loaded a special clip into his gun and he's letting her rip. When Brig bashes him, he still has the same amount of ammo left, so he should be able to continue his ult. Maybe at a little bit of a discounted rate, but the C. I never really heard anyone say this, but I think this is what they're talking about. Is that the CC is so powerful, Briggs Bash, is because it like stops ults in their tracks. It's kind of weird, but what's the correct HP? Like 200 HP seems cool. I would think 100.00 is the correct amount of HP. Uh, but yeah, it's kind of funny how 200 is like perfect. But anyway, I'm gonna skip one here. Talk about Lucio and Tracer can't drop the flag in CTF. It's easy to balance. Lucio 1 HP. Right, if Lucio's too powerful because he can speed away with the flag, give him 1 hit point. That's my solution. Blizzard's solution is to make him drop the flag. No, my solution is give him 1 hit point. Solve it all, stop it right in his track. But I hope you understand what I mean. That you lower his hit points until his speed is, or you introduce heroes that could unspeed him. Right. This is the correct way to solve that. Global ult ticker. Maybe this is how you balance instead of HP. Oh my god. Alright. So the light from Sim does not get bonus versus shields. Grumble, grumble. Ryan's shield can stop flying Sim turrets. Gets stuck, drops to the ground. Yeah, so like I guess they were trying to when they started Overwatch, they were trying to do something with light power and Sim and shields and Rhine and maybe there's room to work there. I don't understand like light power from Symmetra. The Pokemon people can decide this down the road. We're getting 30 more heroes, so there's time to think about it. Got a balance matrix like Pokemon, halfway complete. I started doing it, but I gotta do some pictures. Pokemon chart, all stats, the 5 point grading wheel, damage, hit point, quickness, etc. Healers can heal themselves. Like in WoW, it's tough to do lore rise. I can see Anna not being able to shoot herself with her gun. Super long barrel, right? So you could say that Anna has such a long barrel that she's unable to aim it at herself, which is fine, but she certainly should be able to ult herself. You could, maybe she can't turn around and point that ultimate into her chest. Maybe it has to hit you in the torso. You can't shoot. if Anna shoots you with her ult in the leg, like it's not going to activate. But yeah, in World of Warcraft, like the healers are allowed to heal themselves, right? I understand they're introducing that thing in Overwatch 2, but we'll have to see. Yeah, Lucio should be able to heal himself at the same rate. We'll get into it more later. You could have tons of fun with heroes, then do balance. Pharah is a mage wizard, and Lucio a bard. Worry about DPS, HP last, right? So you want to formulate the hero. You never want to change the hero for balance. You want to use numbers. I don't know why they alter. I mean, yeah, you have to alter some abilities sometimes, but Lucio healing himself at a different rate doesn't make any sense. Right? I mean, maybe he's used to the music. There's always a way to think about it, but I don't like it. I don't like, Lucio. Bap should be able to hit himself with his own grenades, obviously. What is he, immune because he's always around the healing? That's stupid. I don't like that. Maybe some heroes don't have melee. Maybe not. Let's have fun and think free and outside the box. Maybe Doom does double melee damage. That'd be a cool passive instead of the shields. We'll get into that more later. Not maybe has maybe his melee has 4 times damage. What about that? So not every ability needs to have a cooldown. Most do need cooldowns, but not all. Also, if Sombra can stay invisible, Reaper can Wraith forever. Both make sense lore rise and Reaper. So maybe Reaper can't stay in Wraith forever, right? He's like 75% human and 25% ghost. Maybe not. I don't know why I wrote that down. But about the cooldowns, yeah, like I had a lot thought about which let's see here. So the one I can think off the top of my head is Wrecking Ball's grappling hook. That should have a 0 cooldown. He is the grapple man, right? There's no reason why that needs to have a cooldown. Reduce it, nerf him in some other way, but I want Wrecking Ball to be like Spider-Man. I'll get into this a little bit more a little later. So, shield hexes can be destroyed individually. Farah junk rocket, Reaper shotguns damage wall, damage normal, Scarecrow junk grenades explode on timer, not on impact. Oh man, yeah. So I had this cool idea about shield hexes. Right, they can be destroyed individually. I'll get more into it later. Reaper shotguns. Yeah, so think of Farah's rocket like it's not an AoE effect. Like there's actually like physical shrapnel coming out of it. In here, junk grenades explode on timer. What I We'll get more into it when junk, but it doesn't make sense that a grenade blows up when it hits somebody, but it doesn't blow up when it hits a wall, right? Shield hex regeneration patterns. So like, instead of the shield regenning as like a meter, like each individual hex like regenerates. Maybe they thought about this before, but just didn't want to implement it. So the regeneration from Ryan comes from the center of the handle. Orisa. This is a long chapter. I'm surprised this is long. I'm gonna try to like hurry up a little bit. But I should have done. I edited all the other ones, but this one I didn't really. I kind of just left it as a brainstorming thing. Okay, shield hex pattern recognition, regeneration of Rhine that regenerates from the center of the handle. Orisa comes from the ground or those little beacon things, and maybe Sig's crazy random because it's all quantum and the monkey sphere. Or maybe some shields don't regenerate in this. Yeah, his shield doesn't regenerate because it's a one-time thing. Maybe Orisa's doesn't regenerate, or maybe only Ryan's does. The shields can work both ways. Like monkeys, the hexes will still be able to be destroyed individually. Maybe Sig's not. Maybe Sig's isn't a all made out of hexes because he's quantum dude. We'll see. We'll see. Overwatch is 6v6 like Dungeons and Dragons encounter. Fair is a mage and Soldier's a ranger. Lucio a bard. Get into this more later. Tell him why Zen Discord should stack and no limits. Mercy Beam and Zen are essentially the same thing. Discord is the same thing as Rhine's Swing, just with an exchange rate. I explained this in detail with the Widow example. CCs can stack 2 to boot, not stuck, just stun lock. Not like diminishing returns in WoW. I hate diminishing returns. What if Ball barely did any damage, but he was just super CC man? Stun for 1 second, then stun for half a second after first stun. Total stun lock time is 1.5 seconds. Stun mechanic. Yeah, so um, if there, say we have Brig and she stuns for a half a second, and we have another character who stuns for a full second. I'm going to stun you with the 1 second stun, and 3/4 of a second into that, Brig stuns you for a half second, meaning that the total stun duration is 1.25 seconds. Right? So it stops the current stun, and I guess you could undo a stun, right? So if I stun you for 3 seconds and Brig comes in and bashes you for a half a second, like in the middle, like it's actually shortened. I actually gypped my teammate off, by a couple fractions of a second because I interrupted the stun. Yeah, so with 75 characters in the roster, we would have be able to run a even with no limits, right? If we have 6 Brigs and the stun duration, yeah, you can stun lock people. Quit crying about it. Quit crying about CC. Stop it. Stop crying about lore. Stop crying about CC. Stop crying about Junkenstein. CC is fine. All it does is damage. All it does is change speed and make you easier to hit. Who cares if it makes the game unfun? Getting stun locked should absolutely be a part of the game. Use kilograms for stun calculations. No more Iron Man passive. Orisa weighs more than Ryan, so just use kilograms. And ball boop, Lucio boop, energy E equals MC squared. Right? If you can't boop Ryan, you can't boop Orisa. That's the end of the story there. I think it's okay to like what would Ryan have? What he's got lead in his boots? All right. I I think it's okay to let Hog hook his allies with a 2 second cooldown. So if you're so worried about this is why sometimes the CC solves what I got the idea from CCing enemies and how it solves the problem. If people are so worried about Hog's hook and CC, maybe we should be allowed to CC allies and the word curtail. It would make us use it more carefully. But I don't like it, right? I would prefer not to be able to CC allies, right, and solve CC in a different type of way. Like I'm fine with stunlock, but this is just brainstorming. So you can CC your teammate, but it's too crazy. Only explosion bumps, but not boot for Lucio. I don't know why Lucio's boop wouldn't work. I'm talking about more right clicks here. I think you understand my feelings towards CC. I think CCing teammates is a good way to stop people crying about too much CC. Maybe Overwatch would be a better game if you could damage your teammates. Left click, but I'm fine if you can't. Uh, Left click, but I'm fine if you can't left click your friends, but can Lucio boop them? Define balance if there is 100 heroes, a 900 with throw picks. This is balance. Unbalance is when you have one must pick. I already explained this. Additional new idea. So I didn't go. This is why I wrote about this in depth. Widow always scores a kill with a headshot on humanoid heroes, meaning McCree's that if McCree's hit points go to 300, so does Widow's headshot. And the non-headshot, I think I should grow proportionally. No 300 headshot and 75 body shot, or maybe so. Humanoid is not Sim or Brig because they have armor and shields, right? So like a typically, yeah, soldier may have a body vest, and Zen may be made out of robotics, but you can tell that the design of the character is humanoid. Widow will always one shot Zen in the head, even though he's a robot, right? So she shoots humanoid characters, right? Widow 2.5 critical multipliers actually are nerfed to body shots. I guess it used to be 1.5 and they buffed it to 2.5 or something like that. But think about the Widow crit. Maybe the Widow crit should be 3 times. I'd have to see what would be best with my balance method. But yes, Widow always one shots humanoid characters in the head. Not Rhine, not maybe Zarya. No, Zarya has shield. See, we need a way to use the lore to get out of a Widow one-shotting Brig, Sims, and Zars, right? Because they have shields, they have armor. So change the health and or UI generation and all. So I haven't really thought about self regeneration to balance instead of hero pools, but I wrote it down there. You can buff, nerf, remove abilities. Balance should be done with health, but maybe alt generation is more viewer friendly. Alt generation may be too volatile. What if Tracer alt has a 1 second cooldown and you have to increase her health? Right, so the viewer friendly way to do balance is to adjust alt charge, but it may be too volatile. Health pools would be much more smooth. Okay, you can have different reload. This is kind of dumb. I don't know where I wrote it down, but you can have different reload times to think otherwise too unorthodox. I really think reload times should be taken out of the game. Different reload times, opportunity to balance, but same DPS, Soldier McCree and bullets. I think Orisa has a different reload time, but yeah, Soldier and McCree, they could have different reload times, but it doesn't matter. Don't make Overwatch simple for the mass audiences. Double down on kids watching Overwatch League, just like Pokemon, you numbskulls. So, like, maybe if you had the Earth, Wind, and Fire, counter, double counter, uncounter, buff and nerf of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and, you know, Ghost type in the Pokemon, vein of things, then maybe the kids would like Overwatch more. Widow headshot, humanoid baby diva. Yeah, baby diva's allowed to mount Orisa, obviously. All humanoids. Maybe Brig is too heavy. No, but a horse can carry an armored knight, so maybe Zen can't ride horses because he's too peaceful. But if Sim rides a horse, maybe Brig would reduce Orisa's speed for the armor. Rocket jump, self damage from game. I don't like or agree with that. Let Bastion damage friendly ice walls. Right, you should be able to shoot your friendly May's ice walls. If you want rocket jump, let CC friends too. Yeah, I talked about this. So let Bastion and everybody see enemy silhouettes through allies. If Coach Gun moves Ash, then it moves her allies. I talked about this. I want to be able to see. There's a red outline on enemies currently. I want to be able to see those through enemies. I'd almost want friendly fire if you wouldn't concede this. If you didn't let me see enemies through like sometimes I play as Widow and I play right behind a diva. I can't see anything. I want to see the enemy silhouette, which would make it much easier to play. So maybe we should have friendly fire. Just throwing that out there. We'll see what happens. Talk about all skills you just changed. Talk about archetypes before balance. Yeah, so Brig is the paladin. Don't try to make her not a paladin. Wrecking Ball is Spider Man. Don't try to not make him Spider Man. Balance a different way. Ryan can push Tracer with WASD, but not vice versa. Mass kilograms equals m squared. So like you know how you can like push your allies, or you can even push enemies too. Like Tracer cannot do that to Rhine, but Rhine can to Tracer. It's very minimum. It's a very minor thing. By finger I mentioned. Genji cannot deflect boulder because it's too heavy. But how do we categorize this? Like Pucker Man, stun formula, kilograms, remove reload maybe. I don't know why I wrote that so much. Alright, Widow scoped headshot does 2.5. Maybe do regular 1.5, but you always damage is always locked into the soldier headshot. Alright. HP. Is he his total hit point? Yeah, so here's a cool idea. So like Soldier is always 200 HP. If he through my balance method, if he didn't get picked or lose too much and he's due 1 HP, everyone else gets dropped down 1 HP. It may be a little bit more volatile, but it's something fun to think about in my balance method. Would always head kills humanoids. Equal save 3 alt. New, you can save up to 3 alt charges. No longer discourages poking with full alt. Yeah, so if you have full alt charge, you're not supposed to poke. But if you can save up 3 alt charges, you can save up 10 alt charges. I don't like alts. I understand it's good for OWL in the audience, but I don't like the concept of every hero has an alt and they all work the same. Alright, so these changes were coming in the creator patch. 2 dynamites for Ashe. Widowhook has 2 for practicality's sake. Fine snipers have an easy escape. They're a mile away. Come on now. Like Junk's mines, right? He has 2 mines on a single cooldown, so to speak. I want that for dynamites and hooks and all the other... Genji deflect. I never thought about it that way. Or no, Genji dash, right? Like Genji has 2 dashes. That's in the new patch coming up. So these are the humanoids. Is Doom a humanoid, right? Can Widow one-shot Doom? I don't know. That's a tough one. Junk. Mei, right? Mei's 250. She's like Icicle Lady, right? Can Widow one-shot Mei? You could give Mei armor, and it's like ice armor. But you know, it's still like the regular armor. It's still yellow, like the on the health bar. But we just know that's made out of ice. You know, she's cryo frozen, right? Be kind of different, kind of weird, a different. But anyway, Fair should have armor, right? Because she's Rocket Lady. Soldier, Sombra, Torb, Tracer, Widow, all healers except Brig. A frail Widowmaker could make sense. Oh, here I'm complaining about humanoids having different hit points. Notice how humanoid one-shot have shields. Talked about that. Shields and bombs. We got the hex squares for the shields. The shrapnel I talked about a little bit. Instead of the rockets, work, you know, like tear, shrapnel bump. Oh, I'm getting tired. I might cut this soon, but let's see how much more I have of the ideas. Okay, we're really close to the individual heroes. I might take a short break. All right, hex squares. The right. If Farah, ideally Farah's rockets would shoot out shrapnel, and these shrapnel pieces would destroy the hexes on Rhine's shield. Right, be pretty cool. Farah and jump bombs work like this. The shrapnel is actually programmed into the game. No more spheres for the explosion radius. It's like Reaper's shot is fired in all directions from the nucleus. The max damage nucleus is a sphere, right? So like Junkrat's grenades, max damage would be a sphere. It'd be like the size of a beach ball, and maybe Pharaoh like the size of like a half a refrigerator, or something like this. Like you wouldn't need shrapnel at this point, but the radius damage, right, the shrapnel damage would actually be programmed into a game, not a simple radius. Knocked on butt, Brig Bash, ball boop, Doom, chin punch, same, maybe different durations. Gotta touch ground to tumble backwards, somersault. So these type of stuns, I like when things are connected to each other, such as Zarya's grab and Orissa's hold, right? They're the same ability with different strengths, different, uh, not with different, what's the right word? With different power, right? And a variable amount of power, meaning that the Brig Bash and the Ball Boop and the Doom Rocket Punch, they should all generally work the same. They knock you on your butt. It's a certain type of stun, and this so like when ball boops you, you get knocked up in the air, and when you hit the ground, you are knocked on your butt, quote unquote, right? And you do like a half a backward somersault or a stun for a half a second. You don't have to animate it, but it's in this. They're all in the same vein of the type of stun. It's a good way to do Pokemon and categorize abilities. Band-aids are bad. The hog nerf 25%. No, 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 no. That's not what a tank. You want increased ult damage on tanks. You want the people to attack the tanks. Like I said, right? Can't damage boost dragons. Bad, bad, bad. These may be fine for placeholders in the interim, but must be nixed post haste. My balance won't be bothered anyhow. You bounce my way, don't worry about it. But if you want to nerf damage boost dragons until you get it fixed properly, fine. No, no hog nerf 25%. No damage boost. You can damage boost dragons. Something else is wrong. There's no good reason to nerf, especially when you don't explicitly publish this information, which just adds insult to injury. All right, Sombra can't hack Lucio heal because he has a flute, not a boombox. But if she's Garote, she can hack the flute. Like, I always felt bad. It seemed a little OP that Sombra could stop Lucio from healing. But, maybe there's different ways to fix this. See how I try to negotiate with logic when I want to, but then I'm critical of others. But anyway, a lot of these things, I'm just writing them down, and, nothing's finalized yet. But, what I'm saying here is Lucio, it seems innate for him to naturally heal no matter what, and Sombra shouldn't be able to stop that. That would be a lot of work to make sure that all the intricacies of abilities are consistent across the board and they all make sense and they're all really nice and streamlined. Like that would take a good long while to get everything squared away, but very difficult. So Zig, Sen, etc. can't trigger. Yeah. Zen can't trigger the junk trap. What do you? And neither can Sig. What are you guys thinking? Sombra can't hack Zen to walk. The lore, good animation, impossible. Yeah, so maybe Zen transcends Garote. She can't make him walk. Same with Sigma. He's like Quantum Dude. Sombra can't mess with Quantum. Same thing. She can't mess with gravity, right? It's a Garote, right? It's not like. Yes, it is an electronic hack, and she can electronic hack, but it should be a. She's a rogue, right? Rogues can't mess with gravity and quantum physics and monks. What, are you crazy? All right, so nothing needs to be said about CC. Fast slow versus fast slow, same as bullets versus health. So stubborn. Yeah, so if you're so worried about crowd control, then just make another hero faster. it is unfun to be stun locked. We are not trying to make Overwatch a fun game to play. Have you lost your mind? Anyway, bah humbug, right? Human race, men trigger to keep all the same HP. Hanzo soldier, cast junk, BAP, Lucio Zen, impossible. Constitution score is inevitable. Cash has a bulletproof vest on, but why doesn't soldier? Different walk speed because bulletproof vest. Yeah, if you want to have Cassidy have 225 hit points, he has to walk the 95% speed of soldier. All right. I mean, I guess he kind of does with the sprinting, but the sprinting, we'll get into the sprinting later. But just something to throw out there. Constant ability adjustments needed in the beginning to make sure Ryan stays at 200, 300, etc. Right? So if you do my balance design, you're going to have to adjust the abilities very rapidly to ensure that they stay around their targeted HP pools, right? We don't want Genji with 400 HP, and we don't want Widow with 5 HP, right? So you would have to monitor it at the beginning. Not all heroes need ultimates. Why can Rhine only slam the ground once every 2 minutes? Seems dumb. Maybe if he has a flame rocket on the back of his hammer, it would make a little. I guess I didn't think about that. Just let him have ult on cooldown, but make it much weaker. Ults are so important. Ults are so important to Overwatch League. Cry, 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 little baby. I'm angry. What I'm saying here is, I guess Ryan would have a flame on the back of his hammer, meaning that his ult. But think about Pharah. She doesn't need an ultimate. I thought about heat-seeking rockets. That'd be a better ultimate. Reaper's ultimate seems lame. Yeah, I wrote this down not thinking that there's actually a rocket on the back of Ryan's hammer. But I want to do Mercy's ult in a totally different way, and we'll get to that later. But, you guys are trying to sell a video game. You're trying to sell Overwatch League. You're going to ensure that all heroes have an ultimate and they all work identically. So, whatever. Alright, so I'm going to start getting into ability changes. And they only revolve around how the game should feel, in my humble opinion. And then the balance is, I already described how to balance the game. So we're going to kind of change some of these abilities drastically, and then we'll let the game balance itself out with the hit points. And when characters get too far away from their preconceived hit point pool, then we can start adjusting abilities and the attributes of abilities. I want the characters to generally work the same, but I don't want Soldier to only shoot 5 hit points per second. I would have to see how the whole thing worked to develop how it actually is. Okay, so we're almost to the heroes. So let's take a little break here. Okay, I hopefully we're wrapping this up. Getting close. The last 3 chapters are really short. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through all the heroes, but let's give it a go. Alright, so Eye of the Beholder. If anyone's played this game, I played it on Super Nintendo in 386. And this is what my vision of balance is centered around. So you would play with a 6 party. Six heroes is like the maximum D&D encounter. For Orthodoxy, we have 4 heroes, and sometimes there was even 5, but 6 was like the max in video games, at least. You could have an 8-person party if you play at the table, but no one does that many really. So the vanilla ones in Eye of the Beholder was the Barbarian, the Ranger, and the Paladin, all kind of like fighting classes. And then you got your Druid. Why didn't I put Cleric? I kind of think Mercy as a Druid because she's kind of like frail. Whereas the Cleric was supposed to be like like Brig, so to speak. But you can just check this out, right? So you got Ryan the Barbarian, Soldier is the Ranger because he can heal, even though machine guns and bow and arrows are kind of different. We got Brig as the paladin, so she should be a little bit more stronger with her flail. Maybe Mercy, I consider a druid. Fair's the fire mage, right? She throws fireballs, and Lucio's the bard. We don't have rogues because we don't have lock picks, but then we go down here, we can see like Ryan, Soldier, Farah, Junk. Junk's kind of like the necromancer kind of guy, right? Sombra, Lucio, and Tracer, they're all the thief class. Mercy and Brig. Mercy, she is the cleric, so to speak. But, cleric's supposed to be an armored man. He's supposed to be like a knight. So there's kind of discrepancy there. Ryan, Soldier, Mercy, Sombra, Lucio, Farah, Ryan, Sombra, Brig, Fighter, Thief. So the four. Didn't I write this down? Yeah, here's the four. We got Ryan as the fighter. We got Farah as the mage. We have Sombra or Tracer as the thief. More Sombra because she can turn invisible, where Tracer's more like the acrobat. So the four we have Ryan, Farah, Sombra, Mercy. That's the fighter, the mage, the thief, and the cleric, right? This is kind of where balance is stemming from, you know. And then we have the Pokemon thing going on here. Uh, something versus hit scan. Hit scan is dexterity versus ordinances, right? So Soldier can beat Farah. Although it's kind of a fair fight, I don't know, but definitely ordinances versus shields. Win Farah. That's why I like destroyable hexes, because if you hit Ryan's shield with a rocket and then you slip another rocket into that hole that you've just created, somehow, some way, ordinances, meaning Bastion, Farah, Soldier, I'm sorry, Junk, they should naturally be overpowered against shields. And then I guess shields versus electricity would be shields win against electricity, and then electricity wins against armor. Like, I think a cool mechanic would be Winston's Tesla gun and the electricity heroes that come on down the line. They should have maybe a 5 or 10% buff versus armor. Kind of fun, right? And then armor wins against fire, and maybe ice beats armor, right? Armor has, like electricity has 10% versus armor, but ice has um, only 5% buff, right? But if I'm going to ult, if Torb is going to ult onto Reinhardt, Reinhardt has armor and it should kind of damage a little bit less. I don't know about tick damage, but then ice wins against ordinances. Like May's ice wall is like really protective versus Farah rockets. This is the Pokemon thing I'm kind of talking about. I never understood light. I don't understand Symmetra. Is light bad for shields because it's so overpowered? Why does light hurt shields? I don't get it. Whatever. Sim should hurt. Yeah, yeah. So if Reaper is a ghost, Sigma's kind of no. Sigma's kind of a ghost, but he's quantum. If Sim should do extra damage versus Reaper, because she's light and he's ghost. Light versus ghost, light versus quantum. If the tanks can self heal at Mercy rate, it encourages people to attack the tanks. Healers should always self heal like Mercy. Anna can shoot herself, maybe at a reduced rate, because she has to shoot herself in the foot. Everyone should be able to self heal themselves. Okay. These are all the individual hero changes. Like, these are all up in the air. I don't really care what you do with this kind of thing. Look, I want a new hero, Superman, right? And they're just brief. Hopefully I can get through this fast. And you can read it yourself. Maybe I'll just kind of skip through kind of fast. But okay, so Ryan, his health should be 200, 300, because all humans have 200 HP. Or maybe 250 for the Constitution score. Let his shield regenerate without it taking down. Obviously, make it slower. Hex's Shatter 7.5, right? So his shield always regenerates. It just regenerates faster when it's undeployed. When Hex is destroyed, edges stay intact. Nah, I don't know. New hexes generate in the center and pushed outwards. Direct hit kills all humanoids half damage 2 meters away. Did I write that before? The the patch before flat said it. No damage only CC. I don't know. The hot damage Ryan does on all burns. Also fire strike. Right. So we have more fire. Ryan's fire strike should do extra damage to May and her wall. Maybe not May, but definitely her wall. If she has 50 ice armor, do we have regular armor and ice armor? I like how ult does damage. Did I write that? I don't think I think Flats came up with that first. But yeah, I love how Flats did direct hammer down 200 damage. Absolutely. Maybe 100 damage. Maybe it doesn't kill you outright. But if you get hit with Ryan's hammer, you better watch out. Alright, so player models should have different orientations, animations. This is Hog. Player order, different orientations, animations depending on where the hook landed. That is head, torso, arm, feet. New, uh, what I'm saying is like if the hook registers on your foot, then when you get pulled, your body is reoriented, meaning it's harder to headshot you, right? And maybe there's a quarter of a second stun after you get hooked, where you're kind of like knocked on your butt. New passive is terror, -5% to enemy DPS. It seems kind of cheap, but I guess I put it in there anyway. Remove the 20% alt passive. No, 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 no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't discourage people from attacking tanks. Give them 1,000 HP. Take away the vape. Double chain on the junk timer. So I kind of want two hooks. Maybe shorten the distance. But, like two hooks on the junk timer, the Junkrat mine timer. Hook to second CD after hook, retracted. Hog should be able to ascend walls with his hook with a knife. What if Hog could use his hook as a like Widow's grapple, but he would like ascend the wall like at fucking 2 meters a minute? Be kind of funny. You don't have to add that in if you don't want to. Czar bubbles. Yeah, yeah. So like on Rialto, you'd kind of have to make Zarya's bubbles last a little bit longer. But yeah, you should be able to float on water with a Zarya bubble, not in the air like on Ilios, but definitely on the water. Give her two bubbles like Junk Mine, but she can use both on herself. Without the 5 versus 5 change, maybe give Zarya three bubbles and change the attributes, and she can kind of cast them on herself or her allies. Maybe she can cast them on the enemies. I don't know, but I like the junk timer mechanic, and I think they introduced this in WoW. I was clamoring for it, and they just so happened to introduce it. And they used to do a junk mine ability. It would be on a 5 second cooldown. Well, the better solution is to give me two mines that I can use on a overall 10 second cooldown. It's so much better. It's really really good. So Sig is a ghost, Emong ghost type. You think of Sig if he had a skin where it was just like Casper the Friendly Ghost, right? He kind of looks like just like a ghost, like an aberration, just like floating around. Even though he is Quantum Man, I think Pokemon had two different ghost types. It had the psychic and the ghost. They're kind of related, but kind of not. Was Bap's friend Maga supposed to have a buckler, right? So was Bap's friend like a buckler who threw a huge stone? Never too late. Get Sigma out of there. Get that Maga guy in. He's supposed to be hit scan, right? I think I know what's going on. We're supposed to have Baptiste's friend, Maga. He was supposed to throw a huge boulder. He was supposed to have a hit scan machine gun, maybe like a wrecking ball. But Sig can double slap alt ceilings if present. If Sig ults you and you're indoors, you do take damage when you hit the ceiling. And maybe reduce damage when you hit the floor. So maybe it's null and void. But anyway, when Sig moves his shield, it actually travels to a new location, just like Sim's Telly. I talked about this. I'll talk about this with Sim, but you should be able to. I don't like the 1 second cooldown on Sig Shield. So if it's cast over here and I move it over here, it should actually move across the playing field, right? I shouldn't. I don't retract it and then recast it. I just say I want it over here, and it kind of glides over there. Same thing with Sims Telly. We'll get into it more then. Shield hexes, reverse and regen order. Shield regens while out, but faster and retracted. Alright. Manga. I don't think that's his real name. I looked it up. I forget what it was. I guess like a heavy TF2. He's basically carrying a bastard on his hip like a Rambo. Right, like Zarya's gun. Like, what is. Sig was Baptiste's friend, right? But they kind of changed him. So. Alright. So I've thought about this forever. Orisa, we want an ability. We don't want Fortify. The ability is now Charge Fortify, and it's on the same CD, and it's your choice. And what that means is, you can either prepare for a charge and you can fortify, or you can charge. Like a horse charges, or like a horse fortifies. And there's no mechanic that really works like this. And they'd be on the same CD, and yeah, so immune to speed boost, or maybe, yeah, like it kind of makes sense that Lucio can't speed up a horse, but it also makes sense that she can also run 1.25 times faster. Humans can mount Orisa except Genji. Genji, he's a ninja, so he can't, but Hanzo can. Zen can't either, because he's a monk, right? There could be weird rules like this. Headshot available on Fortify. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That seems like one of those quick fixes, but it kind of makes sense. Shield never disappears. It seems like the shield should be 1200 HP, but 600 seems fine too. Orisa gets Lucio's speed boost. Shield could regen or not. I don't know. Regen very slowly. Can be mounted by Brig and Hanzo. Orisa can gallop, meaning she can run fast as Soldier. Duration is running back from spawn to point A to point B. Cooldown is half the duration. She Soldier runs as fast as a horse. Orisa is a horse, and all heroes are kind of jogging. So Orisa technically, I mean, if you're gonna give Tracer and Genji 1.5 times speed, Orisa deserves it too. She is a horse after all. But maybe she gets tired quickly too. I don't know. Grappling hook should have zero for having grappling hook should have zero cooldown and no 6 second max hold. Let him be Spider-Man. Keep speed fire exactly the same. Remove CD on pile driver. 1 second cooldown. Remember bounce done afterwards with numbers. You fall down, knock on butt. If ball hits you on fire at the end of his hit, must be touching the ground to initiate the stun. Unless flung up, 5%. You got five. Like if ball flings you up, you got a 5% chance of landing on your feet and avoiding the stun. I don't know. Ball needs to hit detection to do slam. No AoE damage on the slam, right? You need to be actually smacked by ball. Ball boop so muck like brash. So much like the ball boop and the Brig Bash are the same exact thing. Yeatle said he hates the reload cancel. I was surprised that like a professional player actually agreed with me on something. But Tesla cannon should cut through armor, right? We want electricity to be buffed versus armor. Maybe give him two bubbles, like the Junk Mine Timer. Electric Gun and Rhine Shield, same damage, regenerate. Electric Gun. I don't know. Shield, electric ammo. Maybe electric gun can keep up Ryan Shield trigger. I don't know what I'm saying. Some of these heroes, I don't play a lot of Winston and stuff like this, but all right, Diva defense matrix now has to grow 3 levels. No more cooldown. What happens is you hold it down, and it has those layers. So the layer one, like and then it's like fully extended. I don't like the mechanic where you can kind of shoot it from the side, but I'll get to that later maybe. You can flicker first level of Yeah, yeah. So you should be able to flicker DM, and DM has a fuel gauge. I don't like the 1 second cooldown. It's a cheap mechanic, and it's a 1 second cooldown and 6 shield. It's a cheap mechanic. 3-step DM matrix. Right, removes cooldown each time depressed. Starts back at 5 meters. If Baby Diva walks into Come on, guys. If Baby Diva walks into the spawn, she gets her mech back. It's the correct thing to do. So she get D-mech. Uh, yeah, that would be kind of a cool balance thing. So like, you can call it on your mech just like you can, but it's also appearing halfway between you and spawn. So you can kind of like run back and like pick up your mech back there. Might be kind of cool. Like think about halfway between like on a King of the Hill map. If you get demeched as Diva, your mech immediately appears between at a certain designated point halfway between the point and the spawn. It'd be kind of a lame mechanic, but I think it makes sense. Balance between Baby Diva and Spawn Door allow Diva and mechas to exit their mechs. Yeah, even though Diva would never actually want to leave her mech, you should be allowed to do this, and there should be a button for it. See, this is why some ideas are kind of wacky, whereas, like, we're putting it in there because it makes sense, not for the game itself in any capacity. So when Overwatch 2 comes out, the mecha chapter it's going to be bonkers. It's going to be freaking great, right? So we got all the mechas and everything. It's going to be so cool. So we already have what 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 definite heroes, right? That's something to look forward to. So Ash, we want 2 dynamites on the junk timer. Scope shot and shotgun don't make sense, but it's fun. I like Ash's reload mechanic. That was a pretty nifty. Whoever came up with that, but does the bullet change when she aims down sight? How is it a shotgun on the hip and a sniper rifle? Whatever. You guys are so whatever. All right, we got Cass. I like the name Jesse McCree over Cole Cassidy. Um, this is in the end. I could really care less, but I figured I'd mention it. Right, Jesse McCree. You chose that name because it's a good cowboy name, right? So I didn't read into the whole thing of what happened with that guy. Obviously, if you took that name away, like he must have done something really, really bad. I never, sure, I read all the headlines and everything, and he must have done something pretty bad to get that name taken away. But I'll write it down right here. If right, we're not trying to make money on the game. This Rusty this is what I would have renamed him, Rusty Trigger Switch. That so Cole Cole no 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 Cassidy's fine. Don't call him Butch Cassidy. Um, Not Cole. Cole, I is that a name? You want to name him like Bocephus or Jebediah, right? Someone who was out in Arizona in like the 1800s, But I would have gone for Rusty Trigger Switch. Anyway, with all that being said, so Kick Dirt. I equate the flashbang to kicking dirt in the eye, right? The old Western movies, the cowboy would kick dirt in your eye, right? Fall off buff. I think 20 meters is a little. I want that 25-meter fall off, but we can go back to that later. So the flashbang should do some damage. The flashbang's cool too. What is he throwing an M80 at you? That's not kind of like cowboy like. So I don't know. It would be really really dull, but change the animation to him kicking dirt into your eye because that's what it is. That's what a cowboy does, etc., etc. Right? He cannot roll in midair. He's a cowboy. That's dumb. Stop it. He's a cowboy. Rusty trigger switch. He kicks dirt in your eye. All right. Uh, Overwatch. I hate what you. So I'm kind of a Bastion main. I hate what you did to Bastion in Overwatch 2. I like the big mortars. Do not put his turret on cooldown. No. He he is a hero that can be two-legged or four-legged, right? There is no what you if you think you should be able to put his turret on cooldown, then I can make the same argument. Yeah, I'd make even stronger argument that he can only stay in recon form on cooldown. Doesn't that make more sense? Hello? Are you listening to me? Okay. So, sorry to patronize, but Bastion holds a special place in my heart. But anyway, ordinances, artillery. I like the ordinances, the new ultimate, right? That is what Bastion is. We need a. You should make another character. Bastion is Bastion. You should make a true blue mortar round ordinance character in somehow some capacity. Ordinances were great on Arathi Basin. No CD, Overwatch 2 turret mode, Bastion headshot sentry. I don't know what I'm saying here. Toggle instant heal on. Yeah, so I want the computer to control the instant heal and then it stops when shooting. I noticed that Jake's new changes for Bastion are kind of funny. But yeah, I wish the heal worked a different way kinda. Like it should auto heal. I shouldn't have to pay attention to my health bar and then hit the right click. Like why is it not doing it by itself? Whatever. Ult should do extra damage, 10% to Maze Ice Wall. Torb should be able to pick up his turret and move it. Everybody likes two Torb turrets. Torb killing an enemy with his turret or gun or both. I don't know what that means. Yields 25. Oh, yeah. HP armor pack on the ground that anyone. Yeah, so with our, I'm getting to Reaper next, but with the soul orbs and with the armor packs that you guys took away from the game, from the beginning you should have made it so anyone can pick those up. That would have been much cooler. I mean, I understand how it makes sense that only Reaper can pick up the soul orbs, but it makes sense that anyone can too. Like Reaper creates the soul orb, right? But anyone can pick it up. I think you should definitely reintroduce that. I remember there's a 50 HP cap to armor. So if you pick up a Torb corpse, if Torb kills an enemy, he leaves 25 armor, and if Brig gives you a health pack, you get 25 armor. You're no longer eligible for armor until it's 25% gets worn away, right? Obviously, you can pick one up if you have a one health point. I think you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, man. Even though it really is kind of cheating, let Torb shoot turret to repair it. A well placed rivet can do wonders. Slow us, like it does. Yeah, give Torb two turrets, or let him repair the turret. At least let him repair the turret from the other side of the map. It kind of makes sense that Torb is such a great mechanical engineer that he can shoot rivets 50 yards away. He can shoot rivets into his turret to fix it. That is the mark of a true craftsman, right? So if if you don't want to give him two turrets, let him shoot the turret, which kind of nullifies the need for the hammer, and the hammer's kind of cool, and maybe we can do something else with that. Maybe the hammer repairs it quicker, right? At double the rate, so if he's in the vicinity of his turret, then, and that's so good. I will actually write it down, jot it down here really quick. Hammer repairs twice as fast. Right, that's how you can kind of work the hammer into it. Because the hammer's cool. Everybody likes Torb's hammer. So you should be able to teleport. Alright, so we're on to Reaper. You should be able to teleport anywhere on the map. Alright, so this is how it should work. Not just line of sight. How it works is once you press the ability, your ghost gets 500% movement speed with acceleration mechanic to help place precisely. Additionally, I want both Reaper Silhouette to be able to take 50-50 while teleporting. An F2 map could be used for teleport also. Maybe bring back original soul orbs, but anyone can collect them. Torb armor drops make sense, but for Reaper, right, like you can pick up the armor, but can, yeah, Reaper can make you a soul orb, right? So, um, for the teleport, you should be able to teleport anywhere on the map, not line of sight. If Reaper was a real character, he would not have to. He's a ghost, right? He would not have to see the place before teleporting there. Meaning that it'd be kind of weird. The UI feature I think should be used is you hit teleport. Now, yeah, I guess let's say you're invincible, and you at the 500%, you're invisible and invincible, and the 500% movement speed is only to quickly bring you to where you want. Now, when you appear, maybe there's a good amount of time where people can shoot you, and you have to stand still, so to speak. But the idea of Reaper is you get behind the enemy lines with no penalty whatsoever, right? He is the Grim Reaper, right? There's no 40 meters in line of sight. I understand UI constrictions, but ugh. Yeah, do it my way. It's much better. And so additionally, Reaper Silhouette. So wait, one is Wraith form. Uh, so do we combine Wraith and Teleport? Uh, uh, I don't play Reaper a lot, but I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to do here. So we got Hanzo. Okay, Hanzo, total HP must be equal to Genji. Maybe their speed stays the same. Tracer 2, Drag. So what I'm saying is here, Genji and Hanzo are brothers. There should be some balance mechanic tying these two guys together. Dragons can be damage boosted by Mercy, please. I looked this up. Arrows move at 86 meters per second. I don't know what they do in Overwatch, but yeah, 86 meters per second, please. No more storm arrow. Triple arrow can never kill a tank. They recently did the ricochet. We'll see how that works out. Everybody misses scatter arrow, but we couldn't make it work. We'll try. Can Hanzo? Definitely an archer can mount Brig. Can mount no. Can mount Orisa. All right, obviously an archer can mount a horse, right? Hanzo can ride a horse, but Genji can run fast, right? Genji can't ride a horse because he's a religious ninja, right? Same with Zen, he's a religious monk, right? These kinds of people can't ride, but an archer and Brig the Knight, right? Joan of Arc here, these kinds of people can ride a horse, right? It's funny where a lot of times I'm saying, oh, that doesn't make sense, but you can use lore to. A lot of times I like to criticize movies, but if you really look at the critiques of movies, there's almost always a way that it kind of makes sense. Such as Genji cannot ride. I mean, ninjas ride horses, but we can imagine Genji not wanting to ride a horse. You know, he's was that Saint Francis, right? He refuses to ride a horse. But anyway, he's got 1.5 movement speed, so Genji total HP must equal Hanzo. You know, maybe their speed's always the same. I don't know why Tracer 2. Take a Yeah, I understand Tracer moving 1.5. Maybe Genji should be 1.25. I don't know. Genji can run fast, but Hanzo can ride Orisa. It's a good way. And then I added this recently. I'm talking about double hooks for Hog and double dynamite for Ash, and et cetera, et cetera. I want double concussive blast on the junk timers. I never thought about the double dash for Genji. It really makes sense. Give Genji 2 dashes on double the cooldown, right? All right, so what's this? Hero 37, right? We got Hanjo's Genji Bro. What is he? A samurai sword, right click, shurikens, magical samurai sword. Can we finally get the Genji was supposed to be a melee character, and we had to wait for Doom to come out. There should be more melee characters. This is fine. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Junk, he's the Conjurer, right? So Farah is the Fire Mage, and Junk is the Conjurer, right? Like the Illusionist or whatever the. But anyway, Conjurer Reaper. We talked about the spread on the shrapnel and the grenades. Cool Trap POV ally. Yeah, so if we're doing CC for allies, like, can the Junk Trap catch the allies? I guess. Splash damage super low allows Junk to hit himself with projectile. So, tech, I can understand why Junk doesn't hit himself because he's got a peg leg, right? He's just a crazy dude, so he loves getting hit with his own grenades. But it kind of doesn't make sense that it doesn't injure him too much. But you could have Junk actually do damage to himself, and the way you do this is that the splash damage is super low. So Junk can take care of himself not to actually get hit with the grenade. Whereas the splash damage is horribly nerfed, right? So when he does get hit with a grenade, it does full damage, and when he does get hit with the splash damage, it does full damage, but the splash damage is very, very low for everyone. And maybe he can even take a 10% reduction. It would kind of make sense lore wise. Hanzo can shoot himself, etc. Opposite of Farah, she's like, yeah, and then Farah would have kind of a lower direct hit with the rocket. Like, Farah's whole thing is that the splash damage is lots of sustained damage. I want that splash to be as big as Lucio's healing aura, right? And think of Junk throwing grenades through his hole in the Rhine shield, right? We got the hexes. Let Junk put English on his grenades. A little out there, but time, not impact, right? How are we doing grenades? We got the hex shields going on. It doesn't make sense that grenades explodes when it hit enemy, but not the wall. I'm fine with all grenades. What if the grenades only worked on a timer? You fire the fifth one and the first one starts to explode. Lends itself to unlimited, right? We're going to unlimited ammo. Grenades on the timer, right? We just put a whole bunch of grenades out there. Junk can be careful not to get close to his own grenades and still get, he gets hurt by the splash damage, which is fine. But trying to hit direct hits with grenades is kind of counter to the lore too, but we'll go on with it. Grenade explosion mechanic is fun and good too. New ability. So, like, what? We'll read this really quick. 2 different 5-round cartridges, timed grenade, 5 magazines, impact grenades, and time grenades, right? You would flip it like Lucio's. 50 time grenades can be on the map at once, or triple bounce grenade, no magazine. Grenade size. The grenade should be as big as a softball, along with the hitbox of it. Max damage radius is bigger than Beach Ball. I think Wiki said a grenade kill area is 5 meters, 5 meter diameter. So we want the grenades and the rockets to generally function how they do in the real world. We can fudge them a little bit, but I would have to look into exactly, they have kill radiuses and stuff like this. But let's see here. Yeah, so I thought of this new ability. I'll just throw it out there. So imagine if Junk could reload two different types of clips. He could reload a clip that contained 5 grenades that exploded on timers, or he could load 5 grenades that exploded on impact, but not both, right? So it'd be kind of a new mechanic. I don't know, kind of an interesting idea. Okay, so now we got Farah the Mage. Let her fly forever, just like Mercy's ult. Can't stay perfectly still. Slow descent. Maybe have a fuel gauge, but it lasts way longer. Don't like with Farah being what she is. Um, she should be able to fly forever. Take away her ult or give her heat-seeking rockets. Her ult is so stupid, but you could take away her ult, let her fly forever, and there's your hero, right? I understand how she can stay up in the air forever, but no, no, she's a mage. She's a flying. I understand the mage can only fly for a limited amount of time. Like, no, no, she's a flying rocket lady. There's no reason for. That's what I'm talking about. Cooldowns. There's no. You could have her rocket pack, like her rocket jump on cooldown, but in general, she's allowed to fly forever. Don't let her concussive blast herself. No friendly fire, no CC. You you can hurt yourself with Zarya's right click, but you can't move yourself with Zarya's right click. You can't hurt yourself with Zarya's. I don't like this. I don't like it. If not, she boosts friends too. I've already talked about this. Maybe give her 50 HP of armor for archetype reasons. Her indirect damage should be the size of Lucio's ring for the rockets, right? Like Farah has armor. You can see it, right? Why is she 200 HP? But it has to do with balance. You would have to see where the hit point pool is a lot ended up if you did what I said. So a direct, uh, I would think that the kill radius, like the critical damage of a rocket, would be the size of a refrigerator, maybe like half of a refrigerator. Really, no bonus for direct hits. Direct hits, same size, and like 7 beanbag chairs. Head of rocket is so the hitbox of the rocket is like the size of a basketball. What I'm saying here is if a rocket or a grenade lands on your head or it lands an inch away from your feet, it's basically doing the same thing, right? So we do not want direct hits for ordinances. Ugh, disgusting. Anyway, head of rocket is size about. Let her move a little while ulting. I'm surprised you guys haven't done this a long time ago. Like she's totally still in the air for such a weak ultimate. Oh god. Remove ult because there's not really a good one I can think of. Remember, not all heroes have to have ult. And then I think a better ult would be heat-seeking rockets, right? The UI would look like Zario trying to bubble someone, and you would just send out these little heat-seeking rockets, kind of like magic missile, right? Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention on Diva, is that may give I'll actually write it down. Let's see, where is it? Uh, micro missiles. What is it? Missiles. That's not it. Missiles. I don't know how to spell. Missiles have 5% heat seek. This would be kind of fun. Like they kind of try to seek their target, right? Kind of makes sense. Like magic missiles in D&D, it's like a direct hit no matter what, right? So if you gave you guys, the developers must have tried heat-seeking rockets, but maybe just couldn't make it work out, or something. But yeah, if Farah's the mage, it makes sense that she has micro missiles. She's a fire mage. Uh she has micro missiles. She can fly like a mage, right? Like a 20 level mage. So it's Hero 39. We got Farah's daughter, right? Anna's granddaughter. I thought maybe she's friends with Sombra. Maybe they were young punks who ran the streets. So that'll be fun to do. Uh, Soldier biotic field has to do a minimum 200 HP. Yeah, yeah. What did you guys nerf it down to 160? No, no, no. It should be like Widow's. It should be tied to Widow's uh sniper shot, right? It should always heal. If the way we balance it brings McCree up to like 260, and it's time to start thinking about altering his fire rate or something like this, the biotic field should always do 260. It should always use the max of the humanoid, right? Average, highest humanoid, remove recoil because he's a super soldier. Keep it in. Yeah, for like the recoil, I like how you guys took away the spread. That was a good decision, I think, in the end. But remove it totally, right? He is a biotic soldier. He does not have recoil on his gun. He can run as fast as a horse. He can control the recoil on his powerful rifle. You know? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tracer, kind of fun. Only hero with 9-second respawn. Huh? So I want instant respawns, though. Maybe we'll try it out. What if Tracer has a bomb on CD? Imagine Tracer having her ult on cooldown. On a 10-second cooldown. With no ultimate to speak of. This is how you balance. CD means one for each fight. Extremely volatile balance. Tracer, Tracy. Tracer can't use ult on her. Yeah, I don't like the self damage. I mean, it's a good balance mechanic, I guess. But remember, Diva used to be hurt by her own mech explosion. You guys took that out. Junk used to be able to hit by his own grenade. You took that out. Uh, I, the pulse bomb is weird. I don't like that ult so much. I mean, it's powerful, but all right, Widow. We got poison type, right? This is another of those Pokemon things. Poison type should self heal after 10 seconds. Widow only has poison type and a nade, right? It's kind of poison. Poison stays on extra long time. Multiple headshot. Must headshot humanoids. We got. I want 2 point. Right. We want the junk timer. 2 poisons on 20 seconds. 2 hooks on 20 seconds. 2.5 headshot. Yeah, maybe change it up. 1.5 chest. 75 limb. Like that'd be kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? Widow should have a penalty for hitting it in the legs and the arms. Right. With my balance, would always one shots humanoids in the head, scope shot, waste no ammo, more fun. I've been playing a little Widow recently, and I wish she had 30 scope shots, not 7, right? But she could have. Let's remove reload, see what happens for everybody. What is a Wrathy Basin 300-meter headshot, reticle 1 pixel? I talked about this. So if the reticle is 1 pixel, and the body is 3 pixels tall and 1 pixel wide, how far away is that body from the camera on a 19 by 1000 screen? But I don't know what's going on with 4K. What's high def or whatever? No fall off needed. If it's super hard, yeah. If you have to line up your 1 pixel reticle onto a 1 pixel head, like there's no reason for fall off at that point. And that's what I'm saying about fall off. Now I can see where, as if you are further away than that 3 pixel height, then you start using fall off, right? Because it's impossible for you to convey, for you to mechanically relay if you got a headshot or not. It has to use. I understand that the math can be used for lining up, but it can't be displayed back on the reticle. So, all right. Sim, please give her 25 hit point shield back. It is a good mechanic, and it should never left the game. I understand the way it used to work was kind of stupid, but I have a fix for that. So apply her old 25 HP shield like I want Brig. You should be able to move, teleport. Oh, like I want Brig. Do I want Brig to have automatic? The way I want Sim's shields to work is that if you get within 7 meters of Symmetra, you are automatically applied a 25 HP shield, right? And uh, I don't know how it regens or how it reapplies or if it just goes away after 10 seconds or whatever. Don't give Symmetra the chore of applying 25 HP shields, but that's no reason to take it away. Symmetra granting her team 25 HP shield apiece is a good it's a good mechanic to have in the game. It's a good ability to have in the game. You should be able to move teleporter on a whim, just like Torb's turret kinda. Put her back in support, right? So sometimes I want to adjust my teleporter where it's at. Well, I shouldn't have to destroy like on Torb's turret. If you destroy it, if it hasn't been shot within the last 5 seconds, you get a 5 second cooldown instead of a 10. No, I don't even like this for Torb. Like, if Torb's turret hasn't attacked in the last 5 seconds, you should be. Can you automatically redeploy it? But same with the teleport, right? Don't think of it as overpowered. There's a different way to balance it, and there's no surprise turrets because there's a cast time. There's no surprise teleports. And when you actually move the teleporter, like they should visually move across the map and you should actually be able to shoot them. So it's actually dangerous to change where the teleporter is on a whim. You have to carefully think about it. Maybe a little difficult, but put her back in support even though we're running no limits. Like how do we make her support? Bring back old weapon. I like the weapon from Sim. I didn't really play her a lot. I think by the time I got to playing, she was already Sim Point 2, but I did play her on an Xbox. I like Sim's current weapon, but I like the lock on. You know, that'd be cool if like Mora and Sim had the lock on. You know, left click. So Sim's current gun works too. Look up how it used to work on shields. Yeah, do not give her Sig Shield. No, Sim 2.0 Shield was so stupid. I thought, no, no, no. She's DPS or she's support. She's not a tank. What's she doing with a shield? And her alt, that alt is, I don't know. You can, like, yes, you can have a mix of support, DPS, and tank. She's a turret person. I don't know. It's whatever. It's fun. But I don't like it. I don't like shield. I don't like ultimate shield. Look up how it used to work. Do not give her Sig Shield. You can adjust your tellies willy nilly. Just click and drag. Once selected, animation moves. Talked about that. Maybe not replace, but at least the UI let me place it. Show up 10 seconds later. Self destroy TP. Can immediately recast. Maybe 1 second cooldown. With 6 or 5 sims. Need single unbroken line of tellies. Very thin line. Can Rhine shield block? Yeah, yeah. Since we're talking about light and shields, can shield block you teleporting from one teleporter to the other? I think they should be able to. If Sim can destroy shields with her light, then kind of maybe shields can counteract light too. Um, yeah, we want say also. I didn't write that. Okay, 6 turrets that heal slow and damage. Right? I know you guys have talked about this, and it kind of made things weird when you let the turrets heal. But let's make it work, right? There's a way to make it work. So Sim is about a nest, right? And the nest is to hurt enemies and to help. And maybe it speeds up, right? We're talking about light here, right? We're getting crazy with it. So, all right. So Doom, I kind of changed a little bit, quite a bit actually. So we got all abilities should have a 0 cooldown. It's kind of like Wrecking Ball. Maybe melee double damage, right? Maybe quadruple damage. It should be like Ken and Ryu. Combos unlock Doom's uppercut. Something fun. Ultimate works differently than others' alt. Think of like the Mercy new alt mechanic. It should be like Street Fighter 2 combos. I haven't played Smash Brothers, so you can help me out with this. So the alt should work as like get rid of his shields, but put that ability connection into his alt, where it's like combo driven. Gaining shield for laying. Yeah, he doesn't have shields, right? I understand that he has the glove, but no, not shields. That's not a good archetype. He can have 300 HP, right? Because he's just a beast, right? He is like a boxer, so he can have 300 HP, but no shields. Here's a good way to have infinite ammo. You can just change the damage done, but the current mechanic is okay, but you know, remove all ability CCs, scrap shield, 300 hit points, CD cooldown on I don't know there. Cooldown on rocket punch, 1 second cooldown on uppercut. We got a global CC going for slam. No, you don't get to suck the player in on that slam. I understand how they fall into like a hole, but I don't like the where Doom sucks opponents in. I don't like that. Then you can leave all unlimited ammo, double damage melee. Rocket punch knocks you on your ass. Right, it's like a Brig stun. Brig stun when connecting. Ground, Soldier Reaper, alt, non-cancelable. Right, so if Soldier's ulting and Doom comes in with a rocket punch, well, Soldier gets to finish his ult, at least for the duration that's left on the tactical visor. It doesn't like. Why would the tactical visor stop, right? You turned it on. Say, now, I can see Reaper recovering from the rocket punch more than I can the Brig stun on his ultimate, but, so I don't know everything, so just throwing this out here. Alright, this is fun. May wall can be shot by allies. Yeah. So you make the wall out of 1,000,000 ice cubes, right? It's not made out of 5 giant ice pillars. You make it out of ice cubes, like the hexes on the shield. Torb, alt, fire strike, right? These are May wall versus Pharah's BBs. What are BBs? Uh, yeah, maybe her rockets are kind of fire, so they kind of hurt the May wall a little bit more. Delayed recover on froze. Yeah, when you slow down, you get frozen, and then when you unfreeze, you should have you should be slowed down a little bit when you're recovering from a freeze. So once froze, yeah, so May should be allowed to stun lock you with her left click. Like, think if we're doing no reloads, May should be able to sit there and hold you indefinitely with the ice, right? This is what May is. She is Ice Girl, right? She can hold you forever. Oh, but it's not fun. All right, whatever. Torbolt will hard counter May. At least her ice stuff. Maybe not May herself. Hard counter is Torb. All the projectiles give May ice armor. Talked about this. Hurtable by Torb's ult. The ice armor only, not herself. May is. I mean, she is cryogenic. Maybe she's susceptible to fire, but I don't like it. 2 May, Stomp 1 Torb, and 1 anything else. I guess. Cool idea. May has unlimited ammo and can freeze indefinitely as long as she keeps the beam on the enemy. May CC so can freeze friends. We talked about this. CC friends is a check. No frozen state for freezes. Only froze as long as. Right. If I freeze you, if I walk away, you're unfrozen in half a second, and maybe another half a second for a slow delay recovery, right? But that's the idea with the indefinite freeze of May is that when she walks away, you're no longer froze, right? So Still slowed until stop though. Instead of wall and instead of right click, May should shoot snow cones. Alright, this is a good one. It freezes people and she can do. Okay, so May's left click should kind of create a pile of snow around the enemies. Think about very small ice cubes, maybe a centimeter by a centimeter cubed. A centimeter by a centimeter by a centimeter cubed. This is the physics that is coming out of her gun. It's snow. And she's not. You can make it freeze the people, but she's also building a pile of snow around you, and she can shoot these piles of snow anywhere. Now they will naturally melt. There would be a rate of them melting, and she does not. Maybe she could have a wall that. Yeah, yeah. Give her the wall where it automatically creates the ice cubes. But now, no silver surfing, no comic book surfing, but she can also build the wall with the ice cubes so she can create a giant mound of snow and kind of transform the map if she wants to be great for doorways, right? Think about this. She already has the wall. You could take the wall away entirely and make it easy for her to build walls with her left click like she's an artist, right? So May's gun is shooting out little centimeter ice cubes and it also freezes people. This is the unconventionality that I think is missing from Overwatch, where they're trying to do cookie cutter heroes to appease the masses and to ease the workload on the developers, which is fine. But yeah, yeah, give me May for just one day, and I'll show you what's up. All right, so Sombra Garote. So should have been when Sabra came out, she should have been a Tel Aviv hacker, right? From Israel. This why is she Mexican? If you're going to have a hacker, right? What I think it was back in the 1980s during like the Reagan era where like all this tech is like coming out of Tel Aviv. I guess that's not relative today, but where I can't think of another maybe Japan with all their instruments, with all their electronics, or maybe Texas, or someone from Silicon Valley maybe should have been the hacker. But Sombra, I love Sombra. It's a good character, and she could really be from anywhere. But she should have been from Tel Aviv, and maybe the Tel Aviv tech I'm wrong about, or maybe it was too long ago to even consider. Um, yeah, yeah, it should have been from a tech heavy place, wherever that may be. So let's see here. Hack all health packs on the alt. Yeah, maybe her alt could hack all the health packs. She is a thief. Pokemon chart is the key for the thief, right? I don't know. Hack is Garote. Make the animation for the Garote the animation's fine right now. She's an acrobat, swashbuckler. Yeah, there's no lockpicking. I said the Pokemon chart is the key. Um, I don't know. What did I mean by that? Like she's allowed to look at it or something? I don't know. Pokemon Matrix, Sombra hack, column highlighted. Yeah, so fun. So the hack is very, very unique to the game, right? It should be treated separately on the Pokemon chart, I guess is what I'm saying. No CD on translocator, maybe 1 second. She has three translocators, three different keybinds. It's getting a little crazy, but I mean, if Sombra was a real character, she'd at least have two translocators. Let's all right. Mercy beam should be invisible when targeting, or maybe half or three quarters of the beam, right? Like I don't know what it looks like when Mercy is healing an invisible Sombra, but I'm sure it could be better. I I did a test where Zen's Discord is not visible on an invisible Sombra, and therefore Mercy's beam should only extend from Mercy maybe a meter or two, displaying the direction that Sombra's in. But it should never like connect. I don't know what it exactly looks like right now, but figured I would say that. Okay, since I want the hacker from Tel Aviv, we could do the Jewish Shadow. This is what do I got? Sombra's half cousin or brother. He's a Sephardic Jew. They're seventh cousins, or he's Moorish. Yeah, yeah, from Moor. He was a Jewish guy. Al-Andalus, Cordoba, Sheol. That's his name, right? Sheol. What is that? The Jewish hell or something like that. But what would make him different? Maybe he can hack through shields. Sombra can't. He has a slingshot like David, right? Some type of gun that acts like a right. We don't have a slingshot character, right? Yeah, I'm kind of pissed that the Jew, the thief didn't come from Tel Aviv, right? So I figure I'd throw this in here. It'd be a good idea for another hero, right? We got Tracer, we got Sombra, and we have Sheol, right? The rogue class. But let's see here. Here's one of my old ideas. So new hero, the Roman legions. What this is 6 legionaries, 3 abreast, and they only do touch damage, kind of like AOE damage. With like, this is really thinking outside the box. This hero doesn't. You guys would never do this, but this hero does nothing except touch damage. It doesn't run, it doesn't jump, it doesn't hit any buttons. All you have to do is touch the enemy, and a lot of damage comes about. And they're really tanky too, right? So it'd be a really stupid character to play, but that's not a good reason not to put it in there. Okay, so BAP, since Sumito complains about immortality field, make it the only indestructible object in the game, hackable, but only make it last for 1.5 seconds. Maybe even shorten the cooldown. Make it very unique and cool since it's one of a kind, indestructible. Let BAP grenades heal himself, please. Cylindrical immortality field. No more screen. Make it a cylinder. It works in 3 dimensions. Immortality field is now a cylinder or an elliptical cylinder, not a flat square. So yeah, maybe you for the immortality field, maybe it's indestructible, right? But it only lasts for like 1 second. So um, I don't know. Uh, when I played Mista Pandaria, the shaman was not a very powerful character, so I didn't get to see him a lot, but it's a very cool mechanic, right? Dropping totems on the ground that offer, damage buff, heal buff, speed buff, right? You can drop multiple totems on the ground, and very cool mechanic, but I didn't get to see. I guess the shaman was probably pretty bad when I was playing, but yeah, we want that in Overwatch. So, Lucio, fine if his music heals him less. I don't like it though. Speed boost doesn't work on Orisa. Maybe it works better. Sumito says buff song to 12 instead of from 12 into 15 meters. Fine by me. How far does it take to hear music? Let's do a test and put that in the game. Cool CEC changes. Uh, extra speed boost for Orisa and Diva. I don't know why. Orisa speed boost. No change. Fun to think about. Don't want to boot friends into well. Talking about CC on friends. When Lucio has speed song on, his gun slows enemies. Think short may burst. Yellow song heal hurt. Green song speed slow. Right. So if I'm healing as Lucio, I do damage with my left click. If if I am speed boosting as Lucio, I slow enemies with my left click. That makes sense. Right. Okay. Just the problem of Brig. I'm really bad at Overwatch, so Brig does not present a problem to me. But I've heard Samito complain about her. So here's I don't like what they've done to Brig. I wish she would have stayed the same, but they would have balanced a different way. So here's how I would do Brig. So okay, 1 second cooldown on Shield Bash. Shield Bash is supposed to be a puny ability. Apply the arm. Okay, so I was just thinking about maybe 3 second cooldown. We want a short cooldown on the shield bash, and it is a very, very weak ability. Think a half a second stun and 5 hit points of damage, right? The bash, they don't understand. They wanted to make the bash big and glorious, and no, that's not what a bash is. A shield bash is a puny ability. So whatever. Uh, Apply the armor automatically within 7 meters. You gotta show her inspire radius. It would also display when it's active. Duh. Make it like a wispy cloud on the ground. Did I say automatic armor change packs? I didn't know that. She applies 25% HP shield within all wearers of, it wears off after 15 seconds. Or maybe it stays on forever until it gets damaged off. But how do sim shields regenerate? Just like sim shields, SB pushes back. Uh, yeah. Oh crap. So here, yeah, maybe she doesn't apply shield. That would be a nerf to the armor. She can't cast it on you from 30 yards away, right? You can't throw a piece of armor 30 yards. It's too heavy. You have to get near her, right? So this is one of the things I like. The same mechanic for Sim and Brig with a different, you know. So maybe the shield bash pushes back 3/4 of a meter. Field res, 4 second cast time, only available during rally. Rally temporary armor never expires. Right? If listen, armor never goes away. Maybe she's doing magical armor. Okay, whatever. She's a paladin. So the cleric, traditionally, the cleric has regular resurrection, and a different class has field resurrection, like in World of Warcraft. Like the druid can resurrect in the field. Where I said Mercy's kind of like the druid, she's like the nymph fairy druid type thing. So maybe she gets. I don't like the World of Warcraft field res. The cleric. Well, if Brig is the cleric, right? Is Brig the cleric or the paladin? Right? It's kind of tough. But maybe in the future when we get more heroes, Mercy and Brig can have a res. Don't think of Brig as being overpowered. She'd be balanced in other ways. But eventually, I think the solution to Mercy's res is to actually give another hero or another two heroes the ability to resurrect. So field res. She's the cleric. Only available during all. This kind of makes sense. I don't let her fucking UI armor a full armored teammate. Don't let her. I don't know. Can't remove if teammate 25 is okay. Break can armor you. Shield bash doesn't interrupt cast. Maybe it does. Like we're talking about spell casting. Maybe the game has too much heroes that cast time. Even if this is Brig, this brings her to 10 HP. I'd like to see it. I want to work with Brig a little bit. Healing should only be half of what Mercy does. Like, Brig should not. That's why Brig heals too much. She should not. She should heal as much as Zen. Brig's damage needs to be half, right? So Brig is a paladin. HP high, DPS half of normal, right? So she has a high hit point and half DPS and half heal of what the normal DPS and healers are. Yep, 2550 max armor. Brig can bash through Ryan's shield. Remember, it's a short stun. Right, if you're going to not let Brig bash through Ryan's shield, at least stop her there. At least put the animation in. Don't let me fly through Ryan and he's not bashed. Maybe it just pushes him back, but the shield stays up. Something like this. Reaper and Soldier continue ult after bash. 2.5 second ult, 1.1 bash. Brig Bash, so similar to Ball Bump. Brig can mount Arista, to be continued. I could organize that a little bit better. Like I said, I don't care so much. I don't play Brig a lot, but we have to go to no limits if we ever want to look at Brig seriously. Brig is she was made to be the tank, the DPS, and the healer all in one, which means that her tank power should be a third, her DPS power should be one third, and her healing power should be one third. Well, now since we have 222, you need to heal her a little bit more, which renders the stun. And you gotta nerf that. You gotta nerf everything in order to get her healing up to where it's supposed to be. No, no, no. Her ultimate. Yeah, her ultimate maybe it should be what it is, but you see what I'm saying, that she is the one who's supposed to be the flex, and since you shoehorned her into the healer role, she's not allowed to be what she's supposed to be, right? So, all right, Mercy, let her regen even when taking damage. Obviously, make it slower. This is the same thing with Rhine. If I drop my shield for 1.5 seconds and then put it back up, no regen has occurred. Whereas if I drop it for 2 seconds and put it back up, regen has occurred on the shield. It's kind of stupid. Just kind of like keep a constant rate, whether it's in or out. And then as soon as I take the shield down, just make it regen a little bit faster. Same with Mercy. Her health and all the other health regeneration mechanics, they regen even if you're taking damage. Now, maybe after 2 seconds of not taking damage, the rate can increase, right? But you know, not getting hit for 1.9 seconds and not getting hit for 2.1 seconds is stupid. Okay. Give Mercy a cleanse dispel, right? She is the cleric, right? She can dispel anything. Hacks, discords, just like Bubble. It's kind of interesting that Zarya had the dispel and cleanse. And if you have to do something to Mercy to give her the dispel and cleanse, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Mercy is the one who I could see having 150 HP. Not, well, you guys tried with Genji, but right, I can see Mercy with 150 HP, or even 175. Two charges. So here's how the dispel would work. I don't know. Two charges with a 10-10, 20-second cooldown. An ult like no other. So here's how I want the ult to work. For 20 seconds, anyone within 5 meters of Mercy self-inflate. So, I don't know. These were just jotted down. No line of sight. Give Brig the field res. Mercy starts all matches with 100% all charge. Can damage buff dragons. If my new ult is not used, Mercy should not trigger cooldown if the res is missed. Maybe a 10-second cooldown like Sombra's hack, right? If you get interrupted, it's a lesser cooldown. I never really like Mercy damage boost, even though D&D Cleric has it. Alternative Mercy damage boost by 10% the teammate she is currently healing. Give her a cleanse, gosh darn it. I want her to damage boost the Torb's turret and Sim turret, but if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Self-res needed for one hero, not Mercy. Oh, maybe in the future we can have a hero where like they resurrect themselves, kind of like Diva a little bit. But I want a green beam with an analog 50/50 stick, 199, in between. So I want a green beam, right? I want a third beam where it's half healing, half damage boost. Even though it's very easy to mix the yellow and blue, but whatever. Use scroll wheel to adjust, heal mix. I like Mercy Resurrect from environmental kills, but she doesn't have the corpse. Field res Brig, like, you know, maybe Mercy can res the environmental kill, but Brig needs the body, or, something like this. So let's see here. Uh, The way I thought about her alt working a long time ago is that once she gains 100% alt, she now has one charge of resurrection. But unlike other characters, she's allowed to build up more ult charges. And now she still has to cast them individually, but maybe not. Maybe she can do a group res if she has saved up 6 ults through the entire match. Maybe she has to do them individually. Or maybe during an ult she can do 2 at a time or something like this. But the way we talked about changing Doom's ult with like the combos. It doesn't work in the traditional way. Same with Mercy. Like let her save ult charges. I'd like to see that in action, but see how it works. But Bionade, we got Anno. No, I oh man, Bionade's really OP. It reduce 50 is a nade poison type. Bionade now half as strong but twice as long. Like if you want to do the Bionade where it reduces healing by 90% or even like 75%, I would be fine with that. But what you're doing with Bionade is you're making new players, they're going to heal the people who have been Bionaded, right? So don't punish them that for not knowing, especially if you're not publishing the rules, right? Don't, because what that means is you have to select Anna and push F1. I guess it is written down, but no, I would be fine with 90%, right? If you try to heal someone who's purple, like your healing is reduced by 90%. Don't make it reduced by 100%. That's kind of, I just don't like it. So, Mora's orb, doesn't it only target one person? I think it should be able to target six, the healing and the damage orb. I think that would be better if it doesn't already do that. Okay, so Zen is immune to the junk trap. Maybe not Sig though. Maybe his toes are too low. But I think Sig and Zen should be immune. Don't interrupt reload with orb. I've talked this. Leave orb on forever, like in old times, right? Third, right? Maybe Zen could have a cleanse orb. And line of sight after 3 seconds, returning the orb, it's okay. I don't mind it too much, but he is a monk. He is a space robot monk, right? What does he need line of sight for? He can transcend time and space. So if it's too overpowered that you need it in line of sight, balance it a different way, right? Zen does not need line of sight. He's a freaking monk. All right, so all right, almost to the end, and then these last 3 chapters are should be pretty quick, hopefully. So I change Echo a lot, and it's very interesting. Echo looks like shield type. Always keep one stolen ability. Jewish Shadow instead has this ability, maybe. I can see a thief like stealing abilities, kind of because it's electronic and stuff like this. So Echo could be any one of the 11 heroes. Might be interesting seeing how important swap comps are. Can be no spawn run back penalty, no limits. Mimic is ability, not an alt. No CD nor duration. Savable ults when swapping. She's not a support hero. She's not a DPS. Echo is all the characters. Instead of stealing one ability, in my humble opinion, let her take any 11 of the heroes. No duration, no cooldown, savable ult charges. Echo's kit is cool. So when she's not mimicking, yeah, she got the 3 shot, give her magic missiles or whatever in the stickies. So Vanilla Echo should be able to do a little of all 3 roles, a perfect balance of tank, DPS, and support. Maybe shields are tank and support all in one. She shouldn't have high damage like she does now. Her ult would be 1/3 of roll. Special balance only for Echo. When she goes up or down 1 HP, she actually goes up or down a third of an HP, a third of damage, and a third of shields. Tank, heal, DPS. So What I'm saying here is Echo. Let's forget the alt for a sec. Say Echo does not have an alt. At any time during the match, alright, so she comes out as Echo. And even before, she can change to the heroes because we can see what they're picking or whatever. But in a separate menu or whatever, she can transform into any one of the 11 characters on the field. And she gains all charge. Now, say she turns into a hog and she gains 50% all charge and she decides to turn back into Echo. That all charge is preserved on hog, right? So if she changes back at any time, it's there waiting for her. Now, the thing about Echo is that there is no cooldown and there is no time limit on how long she can transform into a character. Since it's no limits, you're allowed to pick any character you want. So it kind of renders Echo null and void. But then why would you even do that? All right, let me go back a little bit. When you guys were teasing Echo, I thought she'd be able to steal like one ability. Like she would kind of be Echo, but she would be able to like use Hog's Hook or something. I don't know exactly how that would work, but it seems kind of silly now. Um, there would be no reason to actually like steal what the other person is picking if no hero limits was implemented. I don't know. So I'll let you think about what I said. The one thing I want to say about Echo is that she seems like a healer. You guys kind of wasted it. I don't know if you had troubles making her into a healer. I even heard that I didn't notice this at the time, but there was 8 tanks and 7 healers, and she was the last hero. It was the perfect time to round it out into a healer. Something must have happened in development where she couldn't have been the healer. Um, but see, that's where you get in trouble with 222 and hero locks, and But I'll have to think about Echo later. I never realized how stupid it would be to have Echo, but also have no limits. So we'll go back to her. Sojourn fully auto mode on the railgun, BAP level damage, have arc to the gun, so it's heavy like Quantum. So if you hold down Sojourn's left click and let it go, I'm sure everyone knows what that looks like. But if you hold it down just for a brief moment and let it go, I think like the bullet should have a heavy fall. Like it's really heavy. It's made out of energy and light, but it still falls at like a heavy clip. But all right, so the 40th hero. So we want 72 total heroes, but the 40th hero in the lineup is Superman, and he has X-ray vision and a super punch, and he can fly, cold breath, and laser eyes. And the 41st hero is Spider-Man, and the 43rd hero is Wolverine. I think you see what I'm going with this. 72 heroes. Okay, so that is it for the balance. That is it for the entire presentation. Now, the last chapter is the workshop, the OWL, Overwatch 2, and conclusion are pretty short. I don't really pay much attention to this. That balance chapter was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So we'll talk about these last 3 chapters and then wrap it up. Okay, about the workshop. Thank you. I never use workshop. I may have benefited it from what other people have done, but thank you. It's really cool. Thank you. When's the map editor coming out with texture packs? What about World of Warcraft add-ons? Right? Eventually, hopefully they let us do this. DPS, HPS dummies with the Overwatch stamp of approval. No GitHub DPS meters programmed in-house. Right? Like I want like an official like DPS meter from Blizzard. But workshop's cool. We want the workshop for the player icons. We want the workshop for the HUD. Uh, we want the workshop for the C menu, voice line sprays, and the workshop for the UI, right? So all the crazy ideas I have about the UI and the quality of life, like, could we change the entire user interface through the workshop mode and then have custom UIs. I don't know. All right. Um, Overwatch, Contenders, and Twitch. Map pool is bad for ladder. You can have them rotate in and out. I wonder what the OWL pros say about this. OWL is 5v5, but there's periodically all-star games, 15v15 on Arathi Basin and Warsaw Gulch. I don't like 5v5. I'd rather go 7v7. I'd rather play Overwatch than watch it. Same with basketball and billiards. I don't want to watch basketball. I want to play it. Um, let's see. Okay, Overwatch should be watchable on client, and I should be able to control the camera with commercials too. You should also be able to watch the highest ladder match that took place in the last 24 hours or the last 7 days. I think it's funny when Flats and Sumito try to make Overwatch good for streamers, like, who cares, but I have solutions anyway. Like, that's a problem for Flats and Sumito. If Overwatch does not care about their content creators, I'm fine with that. If you are going to complain that it doesn't sell any games, that's not what this paper is about. You know, so I hear them. I'm sympathetic to their needs. I can't empathize. I don't. It doesn't matter to me how much they cater to their content creators. I I like blame the controller, right? Where he is just stating the facts. He's updating you. I don't care updates on skins, but he's updating you on the content patches. I think that Overwatch should support blame the controller before Flats and Sumito. Um, you know, what I'm saying is blame the controller should be hired by Blizzard to make those videos, or someone else should be hired by Blizzard to make those videos. Um, if Blizzard is paying him to make those videos, that's kind of cool too. I don't know why he's not telling us about it. Maybe he's just doing it for fun or for views. I don't know, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. Tell him professional map rotation. Yeah, so OWL should be played on Arathi Basin, Warsaw Gulch, and Kings Row, and Ilios, and Kathmandu, and World of Warcraft minecarts, right? That's what I want OWL to be. 15 versus 15, right, ideally. If they do guilds, it should be tied to OWL teams. Like, our guild is that's our guild. Like, we are affiliated with the Boston Uprising. But Twitch promotions need to be announced in client, please. I know a promotion board page in client can look kind of tacky, but that's the price you gotta pay if you want a AAA title that is PvP, right? So, like, I have missed Twitch promotions because I didn't get the newsletter or something. Just can you put it in client? I mean, it's a PvP game, for crying out loud. Okay. Overwatch 2 comic book. It should be like buying. It should be like buying story. Yeah, like Overwatch 2 when it drops, it's going to be like a little novella, right? But they should do, like, with Microsoft and maybe all the money, they should do maybe X packs like quarterly, like comic books, like very very short stories, and it could progress the lore quite a bit. But it's always leaving you for more. That's the idea, right? I just thought of this. Whereas, like, in the X pack, it only costs $10, so you're only spending $40 a year on 4 X packs. But they're intentionally short, right? So you don't have to commit to too much, and they're like these really cool. It'd be like a playable comic book. It, I don't know. I don't really care about Overwatch 2 PvE. I don't care about the lore. I don't care about how it looks. I only want to play the PvP game. But if I were king of Overwatch and I was responsible for making Overwatch 2, I would take all that money and spending it on PvP. But short of doing that, I would make it like these little short comics. I think it'd be really they sell like hotcakes. What do I know, right? Not a lot. Okay, so talk about OWL. What's OWL and OW2? Path to Pro in client, please. Everything in client. It is a PvP game. I don't watch OWL or football except for my home team. Like, my hometown, we don't have an Overwatch League team. I may be more interested if there were one, but let's see, like I don't really watch sports. I don't. I want to watch my home team. I don't really. I'm not a sports nut, you know. So you can talk to other people about what you got to cater to the people who are really interested in sports. Esports is a new thing that's coming up in 30 years. I don't know what the esports scene is going to look like in 30 years. Personally, I think it's going to wither away and die. But I'm a little bit older than a lot of these people, a lot of your customers. So, like, to end it up, I don't care about OWL, but I wish them luck. The better OWL does, the better Overwatch does. Even if that means scrapping OWL to give the game itself more money, like, I, what I want to say is that I don't know. I don't think about OWL very much. I don't want to solve their problems very much. I wish them the best, but I think that's all I really want to say about that. I'll probably do a follow up video addressing legitimate concerns I see in the comments. So, you can comment, you can troll a little bit if you want, but, don't make me read something that, you know, you can cuss at me if you want, but, you know, keep it brief. The easiest problems to solve are balance and lore. Tell the vocal minority not to downvote this, and tell the Overwatch lovers to downvote if I'm an idiot. If you have legitimate concerns about what I've talked about, I want you to tell me, and I wanna I wanna refine this presentation. The people who are complaining about balance and lore and skins, I solved the balance problem. Lore and skins, you have to wait for Overwatch 2. Yeah, I just want to tell these people. I mean, it's their game too, but you know, the people who are complaining about lore and skins, I don't really think they're complaining about removing the fourth person from the avoid list, which is more important than the lore. We need to we need to take money away from the lore budget and make it so that when you avoid your fourth person, that one of them on the list currently disappears. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and I don't think these lore people are on board with this idea. But do up your resume and send it in the Blizz when this is published to YouTube. Okay, so you'll be getting my resume shortly. All right, see y'all soon. Bye.